But important progress is still needed in a range of areas, such as measuring what happens at both ends of the income distribution, integrating different data sources, and measuring the joint distribution of income, consumption, and wealth at the individual level. When looking at inequality, it's also important to look at differences between groups. These are called horizontal inequalities, at inequalities within households, and the way resources are shared and managed, which are especially important in the case of wealth. We should also look beyond inequality in outcomes to inequality of opportunity. Inequality of opportunity is even more unacceptable than
CarShield, America's #1 auto protection company. More information at carshield.com, code TOM. CB Distillery, CBD for sleeping. More info at cbdistillery.com, code TOM. The Clean Phone Pro, phone sanitizer and charger. More info at thenewdealshop.com. Plexiderm Wrinkle Reducer, real science, real results. More info at plexiderm.com, code TOM. ExpressVPN, the VPN that just works. More information at expressvpn.com/Tom. And TEEF, TEEF, Smarter Pet Dental Health. For more information, teef.com, code TOM.
We say fight back!
Today we're reading from Our Women on the Ground, essays by Arab women reporting from the Arab world. And this is from the introduction by Sahafia. When I first visited Raqqa, Hassan's Facebook page in 2014, I think it's Rakia Hassan, in 2014, I was struck by her profile photo. The Syrian woman had paired a black hijab with a figure-hugging top that was embroidered with gold sequins. Her eyebrows were impeccably groomed, and bronzer contoured her cheekbones. It was a daring look, considering that she lived in Raqqa, the northern Syrian city that was, at the time, controlled by the most brutal Islamist group in the world. Most striking, though, was the defiant expression on Rakia's face, a defiance reflected in each one of her Facebook posts. Everything about the petite woman screamed, "I am here and I will not be silenced." Rakia was a Sahafia, a woman journalist, who secretly reported on the crimes of ISIS from inside Raqqa. But she was no ordinary reporter, at least by mainstream media standards. The 31-year-old of Kurdish descent wasn't employed by a major news outlet. She never had a byline or a dateline and was never trained to cover warfare. She hadn't conducted any interviews, and she certainly wasn't impartial. She'd participated in anti-government protests and openly criticized Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Online, Rakia was fearless, even though vocal opponents of ISIS were often swiftly executed. The citizen Sahafia wrote in chilling detail under a pen name, Nisan Ibrahim, about the atrocities the group was waging on the people of Raqqa. She shared her reports on Facebook, sometimes posting several times a day. As Rakia amassed a large social media following, her friends advised her to take down the photos of herself that were viewable to the public to protect her identity, but she refused. A philosophy graduate at the University of Aleppo, Rakia was known for the personal, poetic, and somber tone of her social media posts, which were always written in Arabic. She wavered between reporting what she'd witnessed and writing about how she felt. In December 2014, less than a year after ISIS declared Raqqa the capital of its caliphate, she posted the following: "In Syria, life and dignity have become two parallel lines that never meet." Rakia mostly referred to ISIS as Daesh. Rakia mostly referred to ISIS as Daesh, the acronym for Al-Dawa al-Islaya, the Islamic State of Iraq and Greater Syria, which has reportedly drawn the ire of some ISIS commanders as it strips the terror group's label of its reference to Islam. Daesh has closed all internet cafes in the countryside, and most likely in the city too, the citizen Sahafia wrote in June 2015. "Without the internet, we will lose our only way of communicating. Dear God, emigration is a loss of dignity and a form of humiliation, while staying here is hell. Dear God, where should we go?" What Rakia presented in her harrowing posts was an authentic account of the events unraveling on the ground in Raqqa. Those accounts came at a time when few Westerners could report from within Syria, but they nonetheless commanded the international journalistic narrative on the country from afar. One of Rakia's final posts on Facebook was also her most unsettling. "I'm in Raqqa and I've received death threats," she wrote on July 20th, 2015. "When ISIS soldiers arrest me and kill me, it will be okay, because while they will cut off my head, I'll still have dignity, which is better than living in humiliation." Shortly after that post, Rakia was abducted by ISIS and never heard from again. In January 2016, her brother received confirmation from the terror group that she had been murdered along with 5 other women. At the time of this writing, Rakia's body has not been returned to her family. Well before Rakia was killed, I wondered what her story was. Why did she turn to writing and citizen journalism, despite knowing that death would be a very likely outcome of her outspokenness? Why did she choose the pen name Nisan, which means April in Arabic? How did she reconcile the identity she presented online with what was expected of her at home or by the society she lived in? Much like Rakia, scores of women in or from the Arab world and broader Middle East have quietly and courageously risked their lives to write about the coming apart of their region. These women are fierce reporters who have helped shape the narratives of perhaps the most important moments in their homeland's modern history, a time of failed revolutions and violent warfare, widespread political and social upheaval, and the worst refugee crisis since the end of the Second World War. And yet, despite their access, expertise, and the obstacles they must overcome in order to do their jobs, they haven't received as much attention as their Western and often white male peers. Our Women on the Ground, this book, presents intimate and rarely heard accounts of what it's like for a woman to report on a region she hails from. The stories of the 19 Sahafiyat, whose essays make up this collection, are crucial, not only because they have contributed to our understanding of what is transpiring in some of the most dangerous countries and protracted conflicts in the world, but also because they intrepidly crush stereotypes of what it means to be an Arab or Middle Eastern woman today, especially in the era of U.S. President Donald Trump, the rise of populism, and the far right in Europe and elsewhere, and ISIS. Arab women are often misunderstood on multiple levels and by multiple groups. She's occasionally boxed into one identity, whereby, for example, her Arab identity is conflated with a Muslim one. This anthology is, in part, an effort to disrupt such flimsy stereotypes. The Sahafiyat come from different generations, faiths, and nationalities, reflecting the diversity of an entire region. They are writers, reporters, broadcast journalists, and photojournalists. Our Women on the Ground is the book.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Well, happy Friday, TGIF, Shabbat Shalom, Juma Mubarak, whatever it may be for you. And I guess it's Rosh Hashanah tonight as well. Excuse me, just kind of recovering from the wildfires here in Oregon. My apologies if I cough a few times during the show. Anyhow, in our second hour today, Congressman Ro Khanna, the vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, will be with us for a full hour taking your calls, a national town hall meeting here on the Thom Hartmann Program. And but typically it's Anything Goes Friday. We just dig into whatever's on your mind. But a special treat in our first block here, our first segment, Dr. Trita Parsi is with us. He's the executive vice president of the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft. QuincyINST.org is the website. His Twitter handle, T-Parsi, P-A-R-S-I. Dr. Parsi, welcome back to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. I saw this piece that you authored or that you were talking about Mike Pompeo preparing an October surprise. And recalling, as I have, in fact, I've found some of Trump's old tweets and retweeted them on a couple of occasions. Back in 2012, when Barack Obama was running for re-election, I believe it was twice, it might have been more times in the months leading up to October and November of that year, Donald Trump kept tweeting that any minute now Barack Obama was going to launch a war with Iran, because that's how American presidents get themselves reelected. They have little wars. And we all remember, Reagan with Grenada and George W. Bush telling his biographer when he was writing A Charge to Keep in 1999 that if he became president, he was going to have a war that he wasn't going to make the mistake his daddy did to have a 3-day war. He was going to have a real war that went right to the next election so he could get himself reelected. And, Trump apparently took all that to heart. You're seeing this. What is the big picture here, Dr. Parsi?
Well, the big picture is that we're seeing that the folks that essentially Trump has delegated Iran policy to have been some of the most effective people in the Trump administration in terms of manipulating Trump to do what they want and make Trump think that it's good for Trump. And that is the entire Iran policy, this idea of maximum pressure as a way of getting the Iranians to the negotiating table is how they sold it to Trump. But in reality, they know quite well that it's a strategy aimed at bringing the United States into war with Iran, or at a minimum, destroy the nuclear deal and create a permanent state of enmity between those two countries. The thing that is happening right now, though, is that within that context, the media has not picked up a very dangerous development, which is that Pompeo has signaled that come Monday, this coming Monday, the United States is going to start implementing UN Security Council sanctions against Iran that actually do not exist. And I'll get back to that in a second. And they're going to do so by confiscating Iranian ships in international waters. And claim that they're doing so with, it certainly would be. It would be an act of war. And claiming that they're doing so because of UN Security Council sanctions having been reimposed on Iran. Now, no one else in the UN Security Council, with the exception of Dominican Republic, agrees that these sanctions have been reimposed. In fact, they have in unison rejected Pompeo's effort to what is called snap back these sanctions. Now, Pompeo is not a man known to be restrained by reality and is going forward and claiming that they have been snapped back and they will come into effect Sunday at midnight, meaning that come Monday, the United States may do this. If that happens, there's a high likelihood that there will be some form of a military confrontation. The reason I think Pompeo is pushing for this right now is, and why he may end up getting a green light for it, is because I think he's going to try to sell it as a way to be able to shake up the elections in the United States, essentially an October surprise. So my own suspicion is that this may not happen on Monday, but if Trump's reelection bid starts to come into real trouble, then this is a card that Pompeo will put in front of him. It will be a very dangerous thing, of course, because war would be a disaster. But this is what Pompeo has been angling for ever since he became Secretary of State. And this may also be his last chance, assuming that Trump may not be able to win a second term.
Remarkable. Today is September 18th, but 4 states have started early in-person voting today, and several other states have already mailed out ballots. So the election is on, as it were. So it may be that the schedule for October surprises has moved into September. Or do you think that, maybe they'll do this and pull all the triggers on Monday except for intercepting an Iranian boat, and then wait for an opportune time, or wait for a boat that might be easy to sell to people, like a boat that contains something that might be a little sketchy, weapons or oil going to a country that we don't like, or something like that?
Well, the latter has already happened because it was about a month ago that the U.S. intercepted not Iranian ships, but ships that apparently had Iranian oil on it that was heading towards Venezuela. There were also ships that were taken in the Arabian Sea. However, all of those ships and vessels were intercepted in areas that were pretty far away from Iran, meaning that it would be very difficult for Iran, that doesn't have much of a navy, to do much about it. The fear now is that precisely because they may want to have a reaction from Iran in order to have a pretext for war, they will start doing the very same thing they've already done, but now start doing it in the Persian Gulf.
how do you think, let's assume that something like this happens, that a ship gets intercepted by the U.S., that they claim this mantle of UN protection or excuse that they're enforcing UN mandates. What sort of response is most likely to come from Iran, and how might that be used? We have about 2 minutes till we hit a hard break here, sir.
I fear that if it happens in the Persian Gulf, where the Iranians do have military capabilities, it will be very difficult for them politically not to do anything. I don't suspect that they will want to do something that would give the Trump administration the pretext of war, because I think they're hoping, they're probably hoping that he doesn't get reelected and they want to sit out the clock on this one. But at the same time, if it happens in the Persian Gulf, which is right in their territory, it will be very difficult for them not to do anything. And we also have to keep in mind, you have elements inside of Iran that are much more hot-headed than the Rouhani government, who may actually welcome some form of a confrontation and who will see that as being beneficial for them as well. So it's a very dangerous situation. The next couple of weeks are going to be quite tense. And the thing that caused me to write it was that I was just stunned that almost no one in the media had picked this up. I mean, this is based on briefings that Pompeo and Elliot Abrams have given, as well as a tweet that Pompeo said, in which he specifically said the clock runs out midnight September 19th. And from September 20 and onwards, those sanctions are back in place.
So very, very quickly, if Iran were to do something like, closing the Gulf, the Straits of Hormuz or something like that, what are the possibilities that this could turn into a regional war as well as a war against the United States? That Saudi Arabia, for example, might jump into the act.
I don't think the Saudis or the UAE or anyone else would like to jump into the action. They want the United States to jump into the action. They want the United States to do this war for them. They have no interest of having any of their own men die in that war, but that doesn't mean that they're not in favor. At least at certain times, they have been in favor of the U.S. doing it. I don't think the Iranians will close the Strait of Hormuz, because that would be a provocation and something that would cause anger in many other places, not just in the United States. So it will probably be targeting those very same U.S. ships or ships of U.S. allies.
Remarkable. Dr. Trita Parsi, he is the Executive Vice President of the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft, the website quincyinst.org or responsiblestatecraft.org. T. Parsi is his Twitter handle. Dr. Parsi, thanks for dropping by.
Thank you so much for having me.
Is the Thom Hartmann Program.
We'll be right back. It's 15 minutes past the hour. Anything Goes Friday. What's on your mind this morning? I got a pile of news for you, too, we can discuss. Stick around. And welcome back. John in Vacaville, California. Hey, John, thanks for watching Free Speech TV. What's on your mind today?
Am I wrong if I believe that my vote does not count because Hillary beat Trump by 3 million votes, but Trump is the president because of the Electoral College? And that makes me believe that the popular vote, my vote, does not count. What say you?
I say that your vote does actually count on two different levels. First of all, if you show up and vote, you're not just going to be voting for president. And there may be, in Vacaville, California, you may have some good progressive candidates. There may be issues on the ballots. There may be judges. I mean, typically there are really good reasons to vote outside of the president, number one. Number two, if Donald Trump loses the popular vote this time by 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 million votes, which would be your vote, votes that don't count in quotes with regard to the Electoral College, but are part of the popular vote, that will strengthen the argument that we are all making that it's time to do away with the Electoral College. We have not had a Republican president elected by the people since 1988, since George Herbert Walker Bush first ran for election after Reagan retired. And that was the last time a Republican president actually won a majority of votes and won the Electoral College. George W. Bush lost the popular vote by 500,000 votes, and his brothers and the Supreme Court stole the election for him in Florida. And Donald Trump lost the popular vote by 3 million votes, And, and frankly, I think there was some nefarious stuff going on in Ohio, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania that handed the vote to Donald Trump. But I think that your vote does count, John, because it adds to that momentum. It adds to that wall of water that's going to wash over the Republican Party this fall. So I would encourage you strongly to show up and vote. John, thank you for the call. It's a thought-provoking question, and it's an important one. Paul in Lucerne, California. Hey, Paul, what's on your mind? Excuse me.
With all this talk about the post office being disrupted and all, which, by the way, is I've never heard anybody talk about those optical readers were just purchased about 4 years ago. The post office.
You mean the sorting machines?
Yeah, they did a study, and the optical readers were messing up. And people's remember about 5 years ago, your mail was kind of not showing up right.
I don't, but I'll take your word for it.
Well, it was happening. Okay. It might not have been happening in Oregon. It was just happening in certain areas.
Right.
But so what happened was they bought new machines. So this guy destroyed new machines. And these machines aren't just something you go, oh, I'm going to buy. No, you order them and they make them. They just don't leave them laying around.
Yeah, these are multi-million-dollar machines, and they're like, half a city block long. I mean, they're huge, or half a house length long. They're big.
Yes. And so what we got to do is, most states, you could drop your mail-in ballot off at your polling place. You'll be on a list at your polling place, okay? If you're a mail-in ballot person or you're an in-person voter, you're on the list at the polling place. You drop your ballot off there. Or, if you don't have time to do that, you could drop your ballot off at your local Democratic Party, at your local registrar's office, your local Republican Party. Bypass the post office, drop your ballot off.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, what we're seeing in Virginia this morning, Paul, really indicates a lack of confidence in the post office. When you have 2-hour lines at the opening, typically in an area where on this date there would be 5 people showing up to vote. It's amazing. Paul, thanks for the call. We'll be right back. Share the Thom Hartmann Program with your friends. We're available on SiriusXM, Free Speech TV, Pacifica, commercial stations nationwide, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, on the Thom Hartmann app, and you can even tell your smart speaker to listen to the Thom Hartmann Program. For our video this week for supporters of our program, you can find it over at thomhartmann.com. We're talking about endocrine disruptors as modulators of obesity. And this is... in fact, the title of the article in Cell Endocrinology was Endocrine Disruptors as Obesogens. Why is it that almost a third of Americans are obese? And that's not true of, say, Italians. And it turns out there's actually a single measurable, definable variable. There's a category, or actually several broad categories of chemicals that are found in the American food supply in particular places, and therefore fairly easy to avoid, that actually disrupt our endocrine system, our hormone system, and cause us to crave more food, to eat more food, and also downregulate our metabolism so that we burn less energy so that food gets stored as fat. You can check it out at thomhartmann.com. So I have a modest proposal for you. I confess this is not something that I came up with. This was not a moment of my brilliance. I actually read this in the news over on Gizmodo, as a matter of fact. But just follow me on this for a minute, okay? You had a bunch of right-wing crazies and racists and haters show up with their little prosthetic penises in their hands, their guns, yesterday at the Michigan State Capitol, without masks. Well, what Indonesia has done is, because they're having so many deaths there, they were having and white, unmasked Yahoo. And she said she saw two Multnomah County Sheriff's cruisers stop by the roadblock and an officer talking with one of the people running the roadblock. We now have the chair of the county, Deborah Caffery, who is just raising hell about this.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Anyhow, it's Anything Goes Friday. I'll shut up and let you talk. What do you think? Should we put anti-maskers to work digging graves for COVID victims? It's Friday, and it's time to support Free Speech TV. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. We need you to call Free Speech TV right now. Toss in $10, $50, whatever you can afford, and help keep this network going. And nonprofits like Free Speech TV operate pretty much entirely based on your gifts. Without your help, Free Speech TV doesn't exist. And we really need this network. America needs this network. We're in some very, very dark times right now, some very difficult times. Democracy itself is wobbling. Right? The idea of democracy itself is under attack in this country. And it's under attack not just from, cranky or crazy Americans, and there are a few of them. It's under attack from foreign oligarchs and foreign criminal syndicates who have thrown in with Donald Trump as well. I mean, this is how bad it is. And Free Speech TV is telling the truth every day. And there's a whole bunch of great programs on this network telling you the truth. I hope you think that ours is one of them. And if so, would you please call now? Your vote during our show, essentially, your call during our show is essentially your vote for the Thom Hartmann Program here on Free Speech TV. 877-378-8669. Let them know you're watching. Let them know you care. Let them know you like the program. Hopefully. If you don't like the program, you don't need to call. No, I'm just kidding. You understand what I'm saying. This is a difficult time, and Free Speech TV needs your help. They really do. And your help also helps keep this program on Free Speech TV when you call during our show at 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. This is, I've been on Free Speech TV for more or less a decade, I think, maybe even a little longer. And I remember times that I thought were like absolutely critical, absolutely pivotal. I've never seen anything like this. And I'm sure you haven't either. Our country, the idea of our country, the ideas that animated our country, the ideas of the Enlightenment, these 300-year-old ideas that people can govern themselves and that a republic can be created where its own citizens make decisions about how that government will behave toward its citizens and toward the rest of the world. All of that is under attack right now. And part of fighting back, essentially, is providing people with good information, telling them what's really going on in the world. And we try to do that here on this program every single weekday. And I know, so many folks watch this show and share the information with others, and things that I talk about show up on Twitter and Facebook and whatnot. And that's all great. And we'd like to continue that. And we'd like to grow that here on Free Speech TV. Free Speech TV is an essential vehicle for information. We really need this network. You really need this network. I believe, I hope that you're watching it because it's a value to you. And if you are getting value from this network, please consider sharing a little bit of what you have with Free Speech TV. It doesn't need to be a lot. The other point that I would make is that monthly donations, the regular commitments, are among the most important, even when they're very small, even when they're $5 a month. A monthly commitment is a huge deal to Free Speech TV. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and let them know that you're watching and let them know that you want to help out. There are a bunch of premiums when you call, some goodies that you can get. With a $20 gift, you get your choice of either the Thom Hartmann University, proud student of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker, or the sticker that says Fight for Democracy, or the set of 3 stainless steel straws. That's with a $20 gift, your choice of one of those 3 things. With a $50 gift, you have your choice of a Free Speech TV webcam cover, the tote bag, Change Never Happens from the Top Down, or the postcard pack, Fight for Democracy. It's with $50. With a $75 gift, you get the official Thom Hartmann Program mug, or you can get the Free Speech TV hat. With a $100 gift, the face mask, What We Can Grow from a Crisis, 2 of them actually. With a $120 gift, you get your choice of a t-shirt, Ask Me About Free Speech TV, or one of 3 books, you pick one, The Hidden History of the War on Voting, How Trump Stole 2020 by Greg Palast, or The Hidden History of Monopoly, Hidden History Books I Wrote. With a $240 gift, we have a meet and greet, a virtual meet and greet on Zoom on October 14th and another on November 18th. So with a $240 gift, with a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University Fall Box with the bumper sticker, the Democracy sticker, the Free Speech TV tote bag, the Democracy postcards, and my book on Monopoly. If you really support our program, here's where you go, the $360 gift. And with a $1,000 gift, get in line to come out and visit us here in Portland, probably next spring. But the bottom line is, we need you to call now, 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to Free Speech TV. Without you, if we don't hit this goal, we're in trouble. Without you, we don't have this network. And so we need your help. This is a serious time, and it's an important time to please call now. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. Tell them that you're watching the Thom Hartmann Program. Be sure to say hi, and thank you so much for supporting this network. Hey, thanks so much for supporting our program. There's a commonality. On the Science Revolution this week, Dr. Michael Mann is here on climate change and the West on fire. Plus, there's a new study showing planet Earth may temporarily pass a dangerous 1.5 degrees Celsius warming limit by the middle of the next decade. This is a huge warning to us all. Former EPA official Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali drops by to warn us about creating an apocalyptic, devastated planet. Attorney for Earth Justice Bradley Marshall is here informing us about bomb trains. Earth Justice has just filed a legal challenge to stop them. And in Geeky Science, I'm looking at why the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine study was put on hold. Tune into the Science Revolution wherever fine podcasts are available. Well, France just announced that they have been paying 84% of your salary, right? France is not having an unemployment crisis like we are because the government just writes a check directly to the citizens. They know where everybody is and who everybody is and what their circumstances are because they've got a national health care service and, so they've got basically a database. Well, they probably also through their tax base. But, they're just paying money directly to people. You get 84% of your old paycheck. So if you were making, $100,000 a year, you're now getting $84,000 a year. If you were making $10,000 a year, you're getting $8,400 a year. And they just said that they're going to extend this until next summer. Meanwhile, Mitch McConnell is saying, no, we will not extend anything for laid off American workers. Nothing. Screw them. This is the official position of the Republican Party. When they tried to, and they're still trying to, the Supreme Court's going to decide this after the election. This was John Roberts' big, wet kiss to Donald Trump, was that their lawsuit to end the Affordable Care Act will happen after the year. So they don't, their attitude to people who are sick, the Republican attitude to people who are sick and need health care, screw them. Their attitude toward people who are on Social Security, Trump wants to make permanent, eliminating the Social Security tax, which means the whole program is broke in 3 years. Yeah, screw them. It's just unemployed workers. Nah, screw them. Anyhow, I'm blithering, and it is Anything Goes Friday. So let's pick up your phone calls and see how you're doing. Eileen, in Pittsburgh. Hey, Eileen, what's up?
Yes, Tom. I was wondering, I read recently in a local paper that the mail-in ballots, in Pennsylvania anyway, are pre-stamped. therefore, when you send it back, it's considered a bulk rate mail, which is lower priority. And I read that if we put a stamp on it, it makes it first-class mail, and the odds would be better that it will be delivered in time to be counted. But I'm not sure about it. Would it invalidate that if I put a regular stamp on top of it, or I don't know.
It would probably be just the waste of a stamp, although there's probably nothing wrong with that. I'm not a postal expert, but we have had several people over the course of the last few months who actually work at the post office call into this program, and they all said essentially the same thing, which is that well, there's two pieces to this, but the first piece, specifically to your question, on return response or whatever that kind of mail is called, where it's pre-stamped, basically, there is a kind of weird little barcode across the bottom of the envelope. That barcode is the thing that the sorting machine reads, assuming that DeJoy hasn't destroyed the sorting machine there in Pennsylvania, the sorting machines. It reads that first, and that barcode tells the machine whether this piece of postage has a stamp on it or not, and whether it needs to go through the stamp, through the postage stamp process or whatever you call that, where it's postmarked, the postmark process. So even if it had a stamp on it, it wouldn't know that it had a stamp on it because it would read the barcode on the bottom. So you'd have to somehow wipe out that barcode with a felt pen, but that's going to then slow down that piece of mail substantially because it's going to have to be sorted a completely different way. So number one, it probably won't make any difference. Number two, the post office, for as long as the post office has been handling ballots up until this week, or up until this year, the post office, even though states and municipalities, well, states, I guess in this case for voting, states pay third-class rates for ballots. Because the post office is a federal institution, it's owned by the federal government, it's part of the infrastructure of our federal government, and the goal of having federal infrastructure, people say, oh, the post office lost $1 billion last year. Yeah, well, the Pentagon lost $800 billion last year, $700 billion last year. It's like, how much did the CDC lose last year? The post office is part of public service to the American people. And so as part of that public service, not only do they do franked mail as first-class mail, that's where if a member of Congress simply writes their signature where a stamp should go, it goes through the mail as if it's first-class mail. But also, ballots, even though they pay third-class rates, have always been treated as first-class mail. And in this judge's decision yesterday, this is a nationwide decision. Now, the Republicans may, and DeJoy may appeal this to an appeals court of the Supreme Court, but this decision, this scathing decision against DeJoy, not only telling him that he had to reverse the damage he's done to the post office and put back the sorting machines that have already been destroyed, that's going to be a project, but it said that you must once again treat this mail as if it was first-class mail. In other words, give it the highest priority. So I would say, from everything I know, Eileen, but again, you might want to ask your local mail carrier or even call your local post office and just ask them, how does this work in our town? But from everything that I've heard, basically, the mail has been slowed down because over 600 of these sorting machines have been destroyed and they're not coming back. And hopefully the post office will comply with this court order. So you, number one, don't need to put a stamp on it because probably that won't matter anyway. And B, you just want to drop it in the mail as quickly as you possibly can. Make sense, Eileen?
Well, I tell you that yes, it does, Tom. But another thing, though, maybe if we all put a stamp on, it would help fund some of the post office money, the cost of a stamp.
Well, using the stamp doesn't help the post office. Buying the stamp helps the post office. So, if it's just a wasted stamp, you might want to buy an extra sheet of stamps this week. You can do it online and then just make a commitment to yourself to send little notes and postcards and things to people. I've been really impressed. I've got a couple of friends. I'm just, for people who are watching on TV, this is a letter I just got from a friend of mine in Washington, D.C., and he sat down and took the time to write this letter. He even drew a little picture in it. He's an old former producer with NPR, a great guy. And people, we're writing letters again. I'm sending notes to people. It's a great way to use the post office, but it's also so you can do that. Eileen, I got to move along, but thank you for the call. Thanks for raising a really, really good question. And for those of you, I know we had an equipment crash in our studio. We just bought a brand new set of video equipment, but we haven't been able to install it, in part because of the whole COVID thing, getting engineers in and all this kind of stuff. We're in the middle of that process, but our old contraption crashes from time to time. People on Twitter were going, "Oh my God, is this Comcast?" No, it's our machine crashed. So some of you, particularly if you were watching on YouTube or Free Speech TV or whatever, may not have heard my opening rant, which is that in Indonesia, they are now taking people who are refusing to wear masks, and instead of putting them in jail or giving them fines, they're requiring them to dig graves of people who died of COVID-19. So anyhow, my question was, what do you think of that? Peter in Lawton, Oklahoma. Hey, Peter, what's on your mind today?
Yes, sir. I got a tweet yesterday from Marsha Blackburn and stating that the Republicans will not change the Constitution. And that to me sounds like a signal, because we both know that the Koch has been trying to get these states lined up to have a vote to change the Constitution. Do you think that will happen if Trump gets reelected?
Yes, I do. The Convention of States has been rehearsing the last couple of years. They've been drawing hundreds of people to Washington, D.C. every year. You can look it up. Convention of States is what it's called. In fact, I think conventionofstates.org or .com is their website. And it's a plan by right-wing billionaires to open up the Constitution in a constitutional convention and rewrite it to make the Constitution even more friendly to billionaires and big corporations, and even more hostile to average Americans having the right to have a labor union, the right to have unemployment insurance, the right to have Medicare, Medicaid, or any kind of government welfare program. They want to eliminate all those things. So if Marsha Blackburn feels the need to say, no, we're not really trying to do that, that should be the thing that guarantees your understanding, Peter, that that's exactly what they're up to.
I read a couple of years ago, one thing ideas they're floating is appointing U.S. senators again, like in the past.
Right, yeah, they want to undo what, I think it's the 19th Amendment or the 18th, whatever 17th Amendment, whatever the amendment was that was that allowed us to vote for our senators, because in the original Constitution, the senators were appointed by the states, but it became so corrupt. I mean, I think it was the election of 1896, as I recall, where Mr. Cooper, he was a copper baron from, I think it was Montana, I might be wrong on the state, and he literally stood in the back of the state Senate with a pocket full of envelopes. In each envelope was a $1,000 bill. We used to make $1,000 bills back then. And a $1,000 bill back then was worth like $100,000 in today's money. And he said, anybody who votes for me for United States Senate, I will give you an envelope on the way out. And they voted for him and sent him off to Washington, D.C., and the United States Senate itself, for a whole year, refused to seat him. Eventually he got seated, and I don't recall if he got reelected or not, but that incident led to that amendment to the Constitution. And yeah, you got right-wing cranks saying, hey, let's go back to that old corrupt way where the billionaires could just stand in the back of the room and pass out money. We kind of like that. Peter, thanks for the call, and thanks for listening to our program there in Oklahoma. It's 45 minutes past the hour. We'll be back with Anything Goes Friday. And a reminder, O'Connor will be with us for the full hour next hour.
Listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Anything Goes Friday on the Thom Hartmann Program. By the way, it rained last night. I can breathe the air today here in Portland. We'll be right back. And welcome back. Richard in Pacoima, California. Hey, Richard, you're on the air. What's up?
What's up is I'm a 1960s veteran, U.S. military, honorably discharged, and I gave the oath to protect and defend our Constitution, and in 2006, Scalia began stating publicly that our Constitution is dead, and he said it for 2 years. And nobody did anything. Nobody in Washington did anything. And I think the only person who heard him and is taking it seriously is Donald Trump. He breaks treaties. He withholds money from our allies. He dispersed. He got the military to disperse petitioners around the White House. He's just doing all this unconstitutional stuff, and nobody's doing anything. Nothing.
Yeah. I think you're taking Scalia out of context, but I agree with you that Donald Trump is breaking the law and breaking the Constitution. I would be willing to bet money, if I was a betting man, that Donald Trump has never read the Constitution, and if he has even at a cursory glance, he doesn't understand what it means. But more to the point, what Scalia was talking about,
he's certainly breaking it. And as regards burying these people, I'll gladly dig graves for any Trump supporter. Gladly.
Yeah. Well, I think they should be digging the graves, basically. If they're going to refuse to wear a mask, they should be, digging the graves for their buddies, right? This is just general craziness. Richard, thanks a lot for the call. By the way, just for the point, when Scalia was talking about the Constitution is dead, what he meant was it's not a, quote, living document. That was the living document idea. Goes back to Jefferson saying every generation should basically, feel free to amend the Constitution to bring it up to date. Scalia wanted it interpreted as it was originally written. I think he would have been very happy if we went back to having slavery, frankly. Patrick in Lakewood, California. Hey, Patrick, what's up?
Hi, Tom. I'm glad you guys got rain last night. I saw that on my apps.
Yeah, me too.
I hope I'm the one incorrect here, but seems to me that Bush 2 on his second round both had the Electoral College and a 3 million vote lead.
You are absolutely right, Patrick. You are absolutely right. But he would not have been running had he not won 4 years earlier, or had he not lost by 500,000 votes 4 years earlier. So, when I say no Republican president since 1988 has been elected with a majority of the popular vote, I suppose I should put an asterisk on that, because you are absolutely right. But, had Bush actually, Bush lost that election in 2000. We know that, a year later when they actually counted the votes. And also, if you look at the fraud that his brother committed, with Kathleen Harris, of throwing 90,000 African Americans off the voting rolls in the months just before the election, he committed fraud. But
absolutely.
Nonetheless, he lost by 500,000 votes. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right, Patrick. And thank you for pointing it out. It's always good to keep the talk show host honest. Patrick, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching us on Free Speech TV. We'll be right back. It is coming up on 10 minutes before the hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program. We're going to get through this, my friends. We are going to get through this. We honest to God are. Don't worry. Just keep being as active as you can and as outspoken as you can. We will get through this. We'll be right back. The hidden history of the Supreme Court tells the story of Nixon and Reagan's committing treason to steal the White House. Our video for our supporters of our program this week, that's available over at thomhartmann.com, talks about the radical idea of universal health care. What countries in the world might actually have universal health care? Something that, according to Republicans, we're just not smart enough or competent enough or whatever. It's too radical an idea, They include Australia, Austria, Belgium, Canada, Chile, Czech Republic, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Israel, Italy, Japan, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Poland, Portugal, South Korea, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Turkey, and the United Kingdom. So why can't we do it here? Well, because you've got an entire political party, the Republican Party, and a few Democrats who are wholly owned subsidiaries of the health insurance industry. And you got a health insurance industry that's paying its CEOs millions, in one case, United Healthcare, billions, or billion. And so good luck. Anyhow, it's over at thomhartmann.com. And welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Steve in Topanga, California. Hey, Steve, what's up?
Hey, my question is, what happens to the down ballot races when Kentucky doesn't certify its election? Mitch McConnell stays in the Senate. There's no race there. It all goes away.
Are you talking about if a state offers two slates of electors in the 12th Amendment scenario, what happens to all the down ballot stuff? Is that your question?
Yeah, what I'm thinking is that, I'm convinced that that's what they're going to do. They're going to try to steal an election by not certifying Republican states.
I agree.
And then
the Electoral College slate of candidates is handled completely separately from everything else in the election. So all the down ballot races, your California races for governor, state senator, U.S. senator, member of the House of Representatives, state assembly, state senate, dog catcher, those will all be counted by the state of California. And whether or if you were in a state where you had something hinky going on and it ends up the state says we can't certify the Electoral College vote, the rest of the vote is still okay. So
there's a separate certification, two certifications basically is what you're saying.
That's absolutely correct. The Constitution lays out the certification process for the Electoral College. It does not lay out a certification process for all the other races. Those are all left up to the states.
Well, that's a little bit sounding a little bit better, but I still think they're going to steal the election through the House. Just like what you said.
We'll see.
Why isn't it a top story? What Trump said the other day.
Trump came right out and said it day before yesterday. He said it twice, in fact. So, this is going to go to Congress. This is going to go to Congress, right? And it's like, this guy can't keep a secret worth a damn.
He's a criminal. And, and so he's going to do it by hook or crook, right? He's going to steal it. Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely.
And
he can't keep a secret worth a damn, which is why Vladimir Putin loves him. Marty, Steve, thanks a lot for the call. Marty in Evergreen Park, Illinois. Hey, Marty, what's up?
Hey, Tom. Hey, not much. I got a conspiracy theory that's been just driving me nuts for the last couple of days, but
okay.
So before, and it's all around the word herd, right? Because I had heard Trump use it before in a very deliberate context, and nobody else is calling attention to it. But before I go into,
are you talking about his press conference back in March or April? Sue sent me the link to it yesterday, where he talked about herd mentality.
Before that, because when he said herd mentality, everyone thought it was funny, but I didn't, because on July, in the Axios interview with Jonathan Swift that interviewed on HBO, in 4 minutes and 21 seconds into the conversation, he uses herd in a very specific way. Nobody said it. He let it slip. But let me share the details of this other weird call on this progressive talk radio show that's on, and it doesn't even matter. The guy called in and said he worked in a rural area as some clerk in a tax assessor's office and started noticing an influx of what would be, what I understand to be like pre-bidding applications to bid on properties and such, right? And he noticed that one of them, the people, he actually recognized the name as one of the people who died of COVID-19. And his point is, man, it's really a shame that people are already getting ready for the tax sales and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. But anyway, so back to the word herd. So this is a quote that Donald Trump, this is a quote I want to call attention to. So he says, wait. And then I closed it down, and we're opening it. And say, by the way, by closing it down, we save millions of lives. If we would have gone to herd and we knew little about the disease, if we would have gone herd, we would have lost millions of people. One person's too much. We're at 140,000 people. One person's too much. We're at 140. We've lost millions. And I was like, he understands.
Right. In that interview, he also said we could have lost 2 million people, if that's the one I'm thinking of.
Exactly right. Exactly. So if we would have gone to herd, he uses herd mentality in a very deliberate way. What I think is going on in my conspiracy theory is that somebody might be they wanted that CDC data for a very specific reason. I think they're funneling it to a data mining operation, and I think they're challenging that against existing land debt. And I think what they're looking to do is use COVID-19 to basically how do you take people's properties? You take their land. And the one thing that caller closed the call with, which almost stopped me dead in my tracks, was, well, if you want to take somebody's land, all you got to do is make them die and pay their taxes. And I was like, oh my goodness, what if they're using Trump rallies to not based on voter population, but based on aggregate land.
So let me get this straight, Marty. You're suggesting, pardon the interruption, we're going to hit a break here in a second. You're suggesting that somebody in the Trump world is noticing the older people who are going to Trump rallies, tracking them down when they get sick and die, assuming that their house is then going to go on the market, and putting in an early bid for the foreclosure auctions. Is that what you're saying?
for the existing tax debt for any land that's in arrears, because Trump loves three things, right? He loves himself, he loves the money, and he loves putting his name on buildings, right?
Oh, so
That's
first they would have to have a database of Trump followers, then who go to rallies, and then they would have to have a database of who's behind on their taxes. Marty, I think for a conspiracy theory, it's getting kind of complicated here.
Okay,
you got a few seconds, Marty.
Because they might be just using it as a lead gen system. Somebody might be using dead COVID people.
That's a possibility. That's a possibility. God only knows. Marty, I'm sorry, we're out of time, but thank you. Who knows? Anyhow, Congressman Ro Khanna is up next, Vice Chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. He will be taking your calls for the hour, so get ready.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
These companies support the Thom Hartmann Program. They are CarShield, America's #1 auto protection company. More information at carshield.com, code TOM. CB Distillery, CBD for sleeping. More info at cbdistillery.com, code TOM. The Clean Phone Pro, phone sanitizer and charger. More info at thenewdealshop.com. Plexiderm Wrinkle Reducer, real science, real results. More info at plexiderm.com, code TOM. ExpressVPN, the VPN that just works. More information at expressvpn.com/Tom. And TEEF, TEEF, Smarter Pet Dental Health. For more information, teef.com, code TOM.
We say fight back!
It's Friday, and it's time to support Free Speech TV. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. We need you to call Free Speech TV right now. Toss in $10, $50, whatever you can afford, and help keep this network going. And nonprofits like Free Speech TV operate pretty much entirely based on your gifts. Without your help, Free Speech TV doesn't exist. And we really need this network. America needs this network. We're in some very, very dark times right now, some very difficult times. Democracy itself is wobbling. Right? The idea of democracy itself is under attack in this country. And it's under attack not just from, cranky or crazy Americans, and there are a few of them. It's under attack from foreign oligarchs and foreign criminal syndicates who have thrown in with Donald Trump as well. I mean, this is how bad it is. And Free Speech TV is telling the truth every day. And there's a whole bunch of great programs on this network telling you the truth. I hope you think that ours is one of them. And if so, would you please call now? Your vote during our show, essentially, your call during our show is essentially your vote for the Thom Hartmann Program here on Free Speech TV. 877-378-8669. Let them know you're watching. Let them know you care. Let them know you like the program. Hopefully. If you don't like the program, you don't need to call. No, I'm just kidding. You understand what I'm saying. This is a difficult time, and Free Speech TV needs your help. They really do. And your help also helps keep this program on Free Speech TV when you call during our show at 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. This is, I've been on Free Speech TV for more or less a decade, I think, maybe even a little longer. And I remember times that I thought were like absolutely critical, absolutely pivotal. I've never seen anything like this. And I'm sure you haven't either. Our country, the idea of our country, the ideas that animated our country, the ideas of the Enlightenment, these 300-year-old ideas that people can govern themselves and that a republic can be created where its own citizens make decisions about how that government will behave toward its citizens and toward the rest of the world. All of that is under attack right now. And part of fighting back, essentially, is providing people with good information, telling them what's really going on in the world. And we try to do that here on this program every single weekday. And I know, so many folks watch this show and share the information with others, and things that I talk about show up on Twitter and Facebook and whatnot. And that's all great. And we'd like to continue that. And we'd like to grow that here on Free Speech TV. Free Speech TV is an essential vehicle for information. We really need this network. You really need this network. I believe, I hope that you're watching it because it's a value to you. And if you are getting value from this network, please consider sharing a little bit of what you have with Free Speech TV. It doesn't need to be a lot. The other point that I would make is that monthly donations, the regular commitments, are among the most important, even when they're very small, even when they're $5 a month. A monthly commitment is a huge deal to Free Speech TV. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and let them know that you're watching and let them know that you want to help out. There are a bunch of premiums when you call, some goodies that you can get. With a $20 gift, you get your choice of either the Thom Hartmann University, proud student of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker, or the sticker that says Fight for Democracy, or the set of 3 stainless steel straws. That's with a $20 gift, your choice of one of those 3 things. With a $50 gift, you have your choice of a Free Speech TV webcam cover, the tote bag, Change Never Happens from the Top Down, or the postcard pack, Fight for Democracy. It's with $50. With a $75 gift, you get the official Thom Hartmann Program mug, or you can get the Free Speech TV hat. With a $100 gift, the face mask, What We Can Grow from a Crisis, 2 of them actually. With a $120 gift, you get your choice of a t-shirt, Ask Me About Free Speech TV, or one of 3 books, you pick one, The Hidden History of the War on Voting, How Trump Stole 2020 by Greg Palast, or The Hidden History of Monopoly, the hidden history books I wrote. With a $240 gift, we have a meet and greet, a virtual meet and greet on Zoom on October 14th and another on November 18th. So the $240 gift. With a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University Fall Box with the bumper sticker, the Democracy sticker, the Free Speech TV tote bag, the Democracy postcards, and my book on Monopoly. If you really support our program, here's where you go, the $360 gift. And with a $1,000 gift, get in line to come out and visit us here in Portland, probably next spring. But the bottom line is, we need you to call now, 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to Free Speech TV. Without you, if we don't hit this goal, we're in trouble. Without you, we don't have this network. And so we need your help. This is a serious time, and it's an important time to please call now. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. Tell them that you're watching the Thom Hartmann Program. Be sure to say hi, and thank you so much for supporting this network. Meeting here this hour, and taking your calls for Congressman Khanna. He is the vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. He represents the 17th District of California, the Silicon Valley area, in the U.S. House of Representatives. His website is Khanna, KHANNA.house.gov, and you can tweet him at Rep. Ro Khanna. Ro is spelled R-O. Rep. Ro, as in representative, Rep. Ro Khanna on Twitter. Congressman, welcome back to the program. Before we pick up calls here, I'm just curious, what's at the top of your list of things you might want to share with our listeners and viewers today, of the whole wide, weird world of events that are happening?
Well, Tom, we've been pushing in the Progressive Caucus really to give relief to people. I mean, we've gone weeks without unemployment benefits. People are desperate for stimulus checks. We need to get assistance to small businesses and restaurants, especially as the winter is coming. They're not going to be able to have outdoor dining. And so we've been pushing. The Speaker has been pushing. And let's see. I mean, every time Trump puts something out there, one of his representatives walks it back in actual conversation. So that has really been the large effort in Congress.
What say you to the so-called problem solvers caucus coming out and saying, well, here's half a loaf. That's better than none, isn't it?
Well, they're basically selling out every state and locality. They're saying, okay, give Trump the what he wants in terms of some temporary relief, but that we aren't going to protect firefighters and teachers and, ironically, police officers. I mean, everyone who is dependent on a public salary. And the Speaker, there's no way we can just mortgage the states, because even if Biden wins, once we have this deal, if you don't have state and local funding, you're never going to get the Republicans to go along with state and local funding again. And so we can't do a deal without that.
Yeah, I totally get it. Okay, let's pick up some phone calls here. Chris in Greenville, South Carolina. You are on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Thanks, Valium. So my question to Khanna is, this goes into the question of defund the police narrative. What do you think are better alternatives to juvenile detention centers?
Chris, it's a great question, and I certainly think for juvenile petty crime or juvenile drug offense. I mean, first there should be the legalization of marijuana. So a lot of the juvenile offenses that are because of marijuana use, or even if there are other drugs, I think rehabilitation is a much better option. For petty crimes, there ought to be community engagement and mental health counseling and behavioral counseling and support. And then I think for violent crimes, you have to have some detention. But there are a lot of crimes short of violent crimes where we can reimagine and rehabilitate young people instead of getting them into a system which they remain in and out of the rest of their lives.
Shayna in Prairie Grove, Arkansas. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Good morning. I was wondering how it's possible for a president with the stroke of a pen to eviscerate Social Security within 3 years, and what can be done to fix this?
Shana, I think you're referring to Trump's call to eliminate the payroll tax, and the payroll tax funds Social Security. So if he's serious about eliminating the payroll tax, then we would really not have the money for Social Security. If anything, what we need to do is have the payroll tax go up to people making over $250,000. Right now, if you after $113,000 or so, you don't get taxed anymore, which is basically a subsidy for the wealthy in this country. What we need to do is make sure that we either win the presidency or certainly maintain the House and Senate so that Trump doesn't have the unilateral ability to do that.
Len in Person County, North Carolina. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hey, thank you for spending some time to talk with us. I just had a quick question. How familiar are you with how much damage we caused to the planet with the nuclear testing that we did between the 1940s and the 1990s?
Len, I do know that it was damaging. I don't know the extent of it, but I'd love to learn more.
Okay, no problem. It's pretty deep. But thank you. Y'all take care.
Okay. Thank you, Len. Jim in Denver, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Thank you for taking my call, Tom. Good morning, Congressman Khanna. I still want Medicare for all. Biden on numerous occasions has stated that he has three objections: how they fund Medicare, how much it's going to cost, and is it going to affect the federal budget. I think having somebody like Robert Reich or Thom Hartmann make a video for Mr. Biden to explain it. The best and only way to fund Social Security and Medicare is to fight the payroll tax, but do it on all income, earned income. Even Mr. Bezos with his $200 billion income or wealth, everyone pays in based on their income. It would have no effect on the budget because we'd make Social Security and Medicare self-governing and self-administering. This would be Joe's chance to be a big hero like Tommy McDonald, the Prime Minister of Canada. What do you think?
Well, Jim, I appreciate that. I agree with you that we could fund Medicare for all in a way that actually will lower a cost. When we look at the total social cost of healthcare, the United States is about twice as much as Europe, and the total social cost, which it has to include private insurance, I mean, that's a cost to our economy, would go down under Medicare for all. It would be, yes, there'd be more government funding, but you would eliminate all of the cost of private insurance. Secondly, one of the reasons there'll be more government funding is because there are going to be more people getting health care, and they're going to be greater what the economists call utilization of health care. That means more people will actually go to see a doctor if they need it. That's a good thing. So while the costs are going down and the access is increasing, now how do you pay for it? You can pay for this largely by having a wealth tax, largely by taxing the corporations that now could pay a tax instead of the extraordinary premiums they were paying, and by taxing people who are wealthy. You don't even have to have the tax affect working class and middle class individuals.
Jessica in Springfield, Illinois. Just a minute to the break, Jessica. Got a quick one for Congressman Khanna?
Yeah. Hi, Rep. Khanna. So in August, I took a temporary position as a census taker that follows up with non-responsive households. The census was originally going to conclude on October 31st, and it's been pushed up to September 30th. I'm really worried this is going to result in an inaccurate undercount and have an impact on blue states. Is this concern on Congress's radar?
Jessica, it absolutely is. Thank you for the work you're doing. In fact, I was talking to Representative Dwight Evans yesterday, who represents Philadelphia, and he was saying the Philadelphia count was at its 50% or so, a massive undercount. So we are pushing in Congress to get an accurate count. The irony is, and here's the irony, it's going to hurt not just liberal, blue states. It's going to hurt states like Texas. I mean, they have a massive undercount. And so I was wondering, why would the Republicans be wanting to hurt Texas? And then someone explained it to me. They're fine Texas getting less seats as long as it means that they don't have to have as many minority-influenced districts, because the white Republican members of Texas don't want to lose their district. So it's a very cynical strategy that isn't even maximizing Republican advantage, but maximizing the status quo.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Congressman Ro Khanna, Vice Chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, taking your calls for the hour right here. So we'll be right back. Stick around.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
National Town Hall with Congressman Khanna. Back with your calls for him in just a minute. His website, Khanna, KHANNA.house.gov. You can tweet him at Rep. Ro Khanna. And welcome back. Omar in Herndon, Virginia. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Tom, thanks so much for taking my call. Good day to you, Mr. Khanna. I'm just calling regarding, has Congress looked into the food shortage situation in case if this pandemic really kind of explodes?
The flu vaccine shortage? Is that the question?
No, food shortage.
Food shortage. Oh, yes. I mean, there is a concern about food shortage. Part of the concern is the monopolization of the food supply. And Senator Booker and I and Senator Warren have a bill that says that we are far too dependent on a few large agribusinesses for our food. And we need to have much stronger antitrust enforcement. But there is a provision in Congress where we would be ready to support subsidized food and the distribution of that food if we need to. Fortunately, so far it hasn't been an issue.
Joe in Cupertino, California. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Tom, I truly hope you're able to get out and exercise your legs this weekend. It's really been helpful. Congressman, I'm concerned. I wondered if maybe you could help me file a restraining order. I don't know what to suggest. The heat ray gun in Lafayette Square. This is an ADS system that's meant to, burn people so that they will, I guess, disperse. And apparently the armory there in Washington, D.C. is being refortified with heavy artillery. Now, can we do something proactively in the legislature to prevent him, the president, I guess, from, attacking the voters? There's 45 days to go before the election, and I fear he doesn't think he's going to be reelected. What can we do to prevent this from becoming a catastrophe?
Joe, I was as appalled, outraged, and I read those reports. I mean, you have reports that the law enforcement, the quasi-military or military, were going to use weapons of war on American citizens. And it is a concern. This president has, in his rhetoric and in everything he has said, shown no restraint of the type of force he believes is justified. So we need to be vigilant, which we are on the Armed Services Committee, to making sure we won't fund these things. But we need civic leaders across the country standing up and being on guard. And it's going to be a very perilous time, these next 45 days and the few weeks after the election, given Trump's desperation.
Are you concerned, given that both Bill Barr and Donald Trump have now called for serious federal prosecution for sedition for protesters?
I am. I'm concerned that they are using these kind of justifications and even possibly the Insurrection Act to justify a armed presence on Election Day or shortly leading up to Election Day as a means of intimidation for voters. And they may say, well, we're trying to maintain law and order on Election Day and prevent protests or riots. But it seems to me that Donald Trump is mobilizing the entire apparatus of the United States government on behalf of his campaign.
Yeah, I'm also concerned about a repeat of the Brooks Brothers riot, only nationwide, being done by right wingers. But we'll see.
Yeah, no, it's a very legitimate concern.
Yeah, thank you, Congressman Ro Khanna, taking your calls for the hour. We'll be right back. Stick around. Share the Thom Hartmann Program with your friends. We're available on SiriusXM, Free Speech TV, Pacifica, commercial stations nationwide, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, on the Thom Hartmann app, and you can even tell your smart speaker to listen to the Thom Hartmann Program. Welcome back. Congressman Ro Khanna taking your calls for the hour. Kathy in Salisbury, Maryland. Kathy, you are on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Yes, good afternoon. I was wondering what you think about a coronavirus hospital and rehab building it now.
I think that's a great idea to have a coronavirus hospital rehab. And unfortunately, we've realized that some of the people who have coronavirus are suffering for months, and that it could be a long-term disease. And so I would definitely support funding for that kind of effort, and think we could get, hopefully, bipartisan support.
Gregory in Islington, South Carolina, if I'm saying that right. Gregory, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Good morning, gentlemen, wherever you are. Mr. Ro Khanna, or Congressman Ro Khanna, my question is simply this. With all of the damage that Barr has done to our democracy, and he is supposed to be the people's lawyer, is there any possibility that we could change the situation where this position is filled by the people, meaning he is voted in rather than appointed by the president, who, as we see, can do great damage? And I'd also like to know if that's possible with changing our Supreme Court as well. And I'll take my answer off the air. Thank you.
Well, Gregory, it's valid concerns because Barr has acted as Donald Trump's personal lawyer, and that's not the role. His role is supposed to be to upholding the laws of the United States. I don't know whether making it an elective position is the best course, but certainly I think there have to be more regulatory and statutory safeguards to give the Justice Department more independence, like we have independence with the Fed or supposed independence with the FDA. I think there has to be more independence built into the Justice Department. On the Supreme Court, what I've said is we need term limits. I mean, if you have term limits for presidents, I don't understand how you could have Supreme Court members be there for 30, 40 years. And you could have a Supreme Court justice circle back down to the circuit court. So you could still have tenure for life under the Constitution, but you could have term limits for how long they can be on the highest court.
Dave in Las Vegas, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hey, thanks, guys. Congressman Khanna, what do you think about Donald Trump's recent comment about the vote going to the Congress? Thank you.
Yeah, he said this day before yesterday twice. He said, this election is going to go to Congress.
Well, Dave, it's very concerning. And, Bruce Ackerman, who's a law professor at Yale, and I have an op-ed out in the LA Times where we say that one of the scary powers that goes back to Thomas Jefferson in 1800 is that Mike Pence, as the presiding officer of the Senate, will have the power to decide which ballots, which states to certify or not. So he could abuse his power and just refuse to certify a particular state on the claim of fraud, even though no fraud existed. And if he does that, he may prevent a threshold of 270 votes. And if it gets kicked to the House, of course, Trump right now has an advantage as the delegations are currently structured because every state gets one vote. And right now the Republicans have 26 states. We have 22. Two of them are tied. So if we don't pick up those state delegations, then Trump would win in the House vote, and that's why he's saying this.
Yeah, this is the 12th Amendment nightmare scenario. Sue in Texarkana, Arkansas, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hello?
Sue, you're on the air?
Hi, Sue.
I'm in Mountain Home, Arkansas.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
That's okay. I'm so excited. I watched the Joe Biden debate with Anderson Cooper at his town hall last night, and he said about twice, maybe three times, he couldn't, as president, federally mandate a mask bill. But Trump does that all the time when he does signing statements. So I'm confused. Can you gentlemen clue me in on what's going on with that?
So I think he's looking at whether he has the legal authority to do it by executive order, but he certainly would have the authority to ask Congress to pass such a statute. And you would have, if Biden wins, the votes, I think, in both the House and the Senate to pass that, certainly in the House. And I think you would have relatively reasonable people like Romney or others vote for something like that in the Senate. So my sense is that he could institute a nationwide statute that requires people to wear masks if they're outside and aren't socially distanced.
Tom in Denver, Colorado. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Thank you. Congressman, is there any legislation in place that would, say at some point in the election process, Trump decides, well, there's no way he's going to win, so he's going to resign, that would allow to implant the new winner, say he resigns right after he loses, rather than have Pence take over for a month, to just go ahead and implant the new winner in the office. Does that make sense?
Tom, I don't think we would be able to do that without amending the Constitution, and I think you raise a real fear that would Trump do that, to resign, so that Pence could pardon him for all of his offenses, and then he wouldn't face the prospect of jail, at least federal jail. So it's a real possibility, but there's nothing we could do to prevent that currently. I mean, you would need a constitutional amendment to prevent that.
Even if he was to try to resign 5 minutes before he leaves office, so that Pence could do this, there's no way to stop that, huh?
there's no. I mean, we could try taking it to the court and make an argument that it's an abuse of presidential power or the pardon power, but I don't think that would hold up. I think it'd be a stretch.
Yeah. Is there a? We just have 15 seconds. Is there a widespread expectation that this might happen?
I think there's a real fear. Now, the one saving grace is that the states would still have claims against Trump, and Trump would be liable for state crimes, which the president can't pardon.
Right. Yeah, and Letitia James is breathing down his neck, along with Cyrus Vance. Okay, Congress.
He knows what's at stake.
I agree. He's looking at Rikers Island. Congressman Ro Khanna with us. Stick around.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
It's a national town hall meeting with Congressman Ro Khanna, the vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, taking your calls for the hour. We'll be right back with more of your calls for Congressman Khanna. It's Friday, and it's time to support Free Speech TV. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. We need you to call Free Speech TV right now. Toss in $10, $50, whatever you can afford, and help keep this network going. And nonprofits like Free Speech TV operate pretty much entirely based on your gifts. Without your help, Free Speech TV doesn't exist. And we really need this network. America needs this network. We're in some very, very dark times right now, some very difficult times. Democracy itself is wobbling. Right? The idea of democracy itself is under attack in this country. And it's under attack not just from, cranky or crazy Americans, and there are a few of them. It's under attack from foreign oligarchs and foreign criminal syndicates who have thrown in with Donald Trump as well. I mean, this is how bad it is. And Free Speech TV is telling the truth every day. And there's a whole bunch of great programs on this telling you the truth. I hope you think that ours is one of them. And if so, would you please call now? Your vote during our show, essentially, your call during our show is essentially your vote for the Thom Hartmann Program here on Free Speech TV. 877-378-8669. Let them know you're watching. Let them know you care. Let them know you like the program. Hopefully. If you don't like the program, you don't need to call. No, I'm just kidding. You understand what I'm saying. This is a difficult time, and Free Speech TV needs your help. They really do. And your help also helps keep this program on Free Speech TV when you call during our show at 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. This is, I've been on Free Speech TV for more or less a decade, I think, maybe even a little longer. And I remember times that I thought were like absolutely critical, absolutely pivotal. I've never seen anything like this. And I'm sure you haven't either. Our country, the idea of our country, the ideas that animated our country, the ideas of the Enlightenment, these 300-year-old ideas that people can govern themselves and that a republic can be created where its own citizens make decisions about how that government will behave toward its citizens and toward the rest of the world. All of that is under attack right now. And part of fighting back, essentially, is providing people with good information, telling them what's really going on in the world. And we try to do that here on this program every single weekday. And I know, so many folks watch this show and share the information with others, and things that I talk about show up on Twitter and Facebook and whatnot. And that's all great. And we'd like to continue that. And we'd like to grow that here on Free Speech TV. Free Speech TV is an essential vehicle for information. We really need this network. You really need this network. I believe, I hope that you're watching it because it's a value to you. And if you are getting value from this network, please consider sharing a little bit of what you have with Free Speech TV. It doesn't need to be a lot. The other point that I would make is that monthly donations, the regular commitments, are among the most important, even when they're very small, even when they're $5 a month. A monthly commitment is a huge deal to Free Speech TV. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and let them know that you're watching and let them know that you want to help out. There are a bunch of premiums when you call, some goodies that you can get. With a $20 gift, you get your choice of either the Thom Hartmann University, proud student of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker, or the sticker that says Fight for Democracy, or the set of 3 stainless steel straws. That's with a $20 gift, your choice of one of those 3 things. With a $50 gift, you have your choice of a Free Speech TV webcam cover, the tote bag, Change Never Happens from the Top Down, or the postcard pack, Fight for Democracy. It's with $50. With a $75 gift, you get the official Thom Hartmann Program mug, or you can get the Free Speech TV hat. With a $100 gift, the face mask, What We Can Grow from a Crisis, 2 of them actually. With a $120 gift, you get your choice of a t-shirt, Ask Me About Free Speech TV, or one of 3 books, you pick one, The Hidden History of the War on Voting, How Trump Stole 2020 by Greg Palast, or The Hidden History of Monopoly, the hidden history books I wrote. With a $240 gift, we have a meet and greet, a virtual meet and greet on Zoom on October 14th and another on November 18th. So the $240 gift. With a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University Fall Box with the bumper sticker, the Democracy sticker, the Free Speech TV tote bag, the Democracy postcards, and my book on Monopoly. If you really support our program, here's where you go, the $360 gift. And with a $1,000 gift, get in line to come out and visit us here in Portland, probably next spring. But the bottom line is, we need you to call now, 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to Free Speech TV. Without you, if we don't hit this goal, we're in trouble. Without you, we don't have this network. And so we need your help. This is a serious time, and it's an important time to please call now. 877-378-8669. The telephone number. Tell them that you're watching the Thom Hartmann Program. Thom Hartmann here. Did you know that the Second Amendment was written to protect the slave patrols in South Carolina and Georgia back in the day? It's in my new book, The Hidden History of Guns and the Second Amendment, available wherever you find great books. So it turns out back in November, the spy agencies in the United States were notifying the Trump administration that something's going on in China. Looks like another SARS outbreak. Maybe we should get ready for this. It was ignored. I've got a new video up over at thomhartmann.com for the supporters of our program that basically goes through the whole timeline, all the way from, actually going back to 2018 when Trump disbanded 3 different anti-pandemic agencies in the Department of Homeland Security, the National Security Council, and the executive branch. Just closed them down, fired the people. That was the end of that. How he ignored the intelligence in November, he ignored the intelligence in December, he ignored the epidemic now coming into the United States in January, he ignored it in February, just going the blow-by-blow timeline. And I think it's really worth having it all in one place, a good recap, a good summary of this that you can refer to and you can share with your friends. It's all over at thomhartmann.com. You can check it out. Congressman Ro Khanna taking your calls for the hour. And Elaine in Bronson, Missouri. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hi, I was just wondering, I'm on Social Security, and I was wondering if Trump's GOP does this in 3 years. People like me that have already paid in their whole life and are on it, would we lose our benefits too?
Elaine, if they did eliminate the payroll tax, there is a risk of that. Yes, you could have a total cut in the revenue of Social Security that pays out benefits. Now, I don't think that will ever happen while we have a Democratic House, and it will never happen while we have a Democratic Senate. The point, though, is that if Trump gets in there, he's going to try to put a lot of pressure to cut Social Security, to cut Medicare, for some benefit cuts, when we need to do the exact opposite. We need to be increasing the benefits given the cost of living. And how difficult it is to make ends meet on Social Security payments.
Margot in Portland, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Yeah, hi, thanks. My question is, how the hell did we get here? I mean, the president has clearly broken the law, clearly abused his power repeatedly, has corrupted all of the institutions that are supposed to serve as checks and balances. How have we not found a way to bring him to justice? I mean, are there loopholes in our Constitution that are that big?
I hear your frustration. We feel it all the time in the House. And I think the shocking thing to me is that if you look at Real Clear Politics, and even if you throw out Rasmussen and some of the biased pollsters, you still have Trump at 43% approval. That's not enough to win an election, but that means 4 out of 10 Americans approve of what he's doing. And that, to me, explains why we haven't been able to hold him accountable, because he has intense support in these Republican constituencies.
Alejandro in Miami, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hello, everyone. It's my first time calling the show, so hello, Thom Hartmann. Hello,
thank you.
Ro Khanna. I just wanted to just ask, can Congress try again to impeach Donald Trump, for all the corruption for the last, almost 4 years, especially the whole Bob Woodward revelation that he willingly, he knew how bad the coronavirus pandemic was going to be, and he let it happen. That's a dereliction of duty, and Congress should not wait for their election. They should try to impeach him now, and even if it doesn't win, it doesn't matter, because I'll energize the base and show the Democrats are taking charge of this and holding the president accountable, and also throw in a combo deal with Attorney General Barr, because he's the most corrupt Attorney General I've ever seen. And then I'm an attorney, and I think he's an embarrassment to the legal profession with the way he undermines the law. He doesn't. I don't know how an attorney doesn't know that you can't vote twice. I think that's an embarrassment. He should get impeached, thrown out of office, and disbarred, because he's not worthy to be an attorney general.
Well, Alejandro, I completely agree with you on Barr. And, we've discussed this with Thom Hartmann before. I mean, Barr was the person who basically covered up for Bush Sr. in the Iran-Contra scandal. So he has made a life of covering up for the illegal actions of his party. And now he's taken it to even a further end and a outrageous end. In terms of impeaching Trump, I mean, we did that. The votes still aren't there in the Senate. Now, what would be interesting is if Trump does lose, whether you could impeach him in a lame duck session is an open question, and whether that would maybe change some of the Republican votes.
Lisa in Catskill Bay, New York. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Yeah, thank you for taking my call. Congressman Khanna, I applaud your support of the Farm Systems Reform Act that you just referred to, and I'm working with a national grassroots group called the Climate Crisis Policy Group. I don't know if you're aware of them, but we've created an initiative called Adopt a District, and we're trying to get our representatives from our district. I'm upstate New York, so I'm District 21, Elise Stefanik. We're trying to get our Congress people to endorse a larger package of bills that aren't just farm reform, but many climate bills. It's based in the Project Drawdown effort. And I'm wondering if you had heard of that, and would you be open to endorsing that if I could send you the entire bill package to your office?
Yes, Lisa, thank you for your work. I'd love to take a look at it. I mean, the reality is that farmers have been suffering because of the consolidation of grocery stores, so they have less people they can sell their crops to. There are less people they can sell their milk or their meat to, and because of the consolidation in the agribusiness. Yesterday in the town hall, someone asked Joe Biden, what are you going to do for farmers because farmers are suffering from too much regulation? The truth is actually the opposite. Most farmers will tell you that they're suffering because it costs them more to produce their crops than they can sell them for, and they need regulation of a price floor. They need regulation on antitrust. That's what's driving farmers out of business.
Chris in Portland, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hi. Wondering about the 12th Amendment. If the Republicans use it, which I mean, I can't see why they wouldn't. Is it ineluctable, or is there a way to stop it? Is there a way to stop that from actually electing Donald Trump again?
Well, Chris, I would recommend the op-ed Bruce Ackerman and I wrote in the LA Times. You can look it up. Bruce is one of the leading constitutional scholars, and he fears that the invocation of that kind of procedure in the 12th Amendment, that Pence would preside over the Senate to decide what states counted or not, and that he would rule that no one had a majority and kick it to the House. Now, the Speaker can refuse to convene the Congress, and that's something that she has the power to do, which then would be something which would end up in the courts. But depending on what Trump does, I mean, he has a lot of tools at his disposal to contest an election, unless it's a landslide. I mean, unless we're winning Florida and Arizona, and if we have a clean sweep.
Robert in Greenville, North Carolina. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Yes, Congressman. I don't understand why we can't do something legally with the Attorney General. And as far as all the whole Republican Party, I blame them more than I blame Donald Trump, because they're allowing this to happen. If they would step up to the plate, it's hard to believe that isn't there anyone in the Republican Party, I mean Congress, that can do something?
It's an excellent point, because Donald Trump, as ruthless as he is, as conniving as he is, would not be able to succeed at half the things he does, nor would he be able to succeed in sabotaging the post office or casting down on the election, unless he had a tremendous amount of willing accomplices in a party that was unwilling to check him. And so you're absolutely correct that the blame for our situation in this country is not just on Donald Trump's shoulders. He has the question is, why does he have a Republican Party that has gone along with almost everything that he has wanted to do?
Mary in Greenville, Michigan. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna. Minute to the break.
Yes, hi. I know you support marijuana, and the House decided they didn't want to vote on it until after they passed COVID-19, but I don't think they're going to get COVID-19 before the election. So can't we go back to marijuana?
Mary, we should. It's a racial justice issue. The fact is that there are a lot of black and brown men in particular who are in jail because of marijuana use, and they're having a disparate impact in terms of the sentences. We should pass it, and I actually think it would be something that would mobilize young people and many people, progressives, to come out to the polls. In fact, there's a ballot initiative in Arizona to legalize marijuana that I think is going to help the Democratic turnout in that state.
Yeah. Wasn't Breonna Taylor killed because of a drug warrant? I don't know if it was marijuana.
I don't know if the details of why they barged into her room, and it may very well have been related to the drug war, because so much of the police violence. I mean, and you know this, Tom. I mean, the history of the aggravation of police violence really was the war on drugs. I mean, that's the root cause of a lot of that police brutality.
Well, I was thinking if there was, if marijuana was involved with that, you could reintroduce the act and call it the Breonna Taylor, act.
That's a great point. I'm going to have my staff look into that.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Great. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
45 minutes past the hour. Congressman Ro Khanna taking your calls. We'll be back. And welcome back. John in Seattle, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Thanks, Tom. Mr. Khanna, thanks for your service. I did want to ask your thoughts on the political advisability of the Democrats launching their own September surprise, maybe impeach Bill Barr or impeach Trump a second time.
It's interesting. As the second caller has raised that issue, I certainly think that Barr should be impeached. The question just is, if we do that, are we signaling to the country that while they don't have stimulus checks, while they don't have unemployment checks, while they don't have support for their small businesses, we're focused on impeaching Trump or Barr, and I'm not sure that would go over well. Where most people, at least in my district and people I talk to, they want help. They're barely struggling to pay the rent, and they want Congress to get something done.
Lisa in Spanaway, Washington, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Congressman Khanna, I would like to know, what are we doing or what needs to be done to eradicate the death penalty, since we're just always criminalizing poverty? So that means that there's a 19-year-old today facing the death penalty. I heard on the radio earlier. What can we do to eradicate that within our system?
Well, Lisa, I agree with you. We should hold that the death penalty is unconstitutional as a form of unusual and cruel punishment. That, I think, would be the easiest way. But otherwise, Congress should legislate, and we should point out that the death penalty has a disproportionate impact on black and brown individuals, and that it's not fair in a justice system that is imperfect, that has bias, for us to make the determination of taking someone's life based on imperfect systems.
Jeff in Portland, Oregon, you're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Good morning, Tom and Congressman Khanna. Thank you both for your invaluable work. Congressman Khanna, given all our climate-fueled natural disasters and the economic and healthcare crises caused by the pandemic, 2020 and reality have endorsed the Green New Deal and Medicare for All. So the more top progressives like yourself can move the Biden campaign in that direction, the wider our margin of victory will be in November. But my question today is really pragmatic. Congressman Khanna, can you lead a push in Congress for free flu shots for all Americans? David Corn at Mother Jones has an excellent piece on this, and it's really a no-brainer in the midst of this pandemic. Thank you, Congressman.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a really great idea, and I think that is something I will take up. I always get a couple good ideas every time we do one of these national town halls, and to me that makes a lot of sense. We want every American to get a flu shot.
Yeah, and Trump had promised free COVID vaccines too, although I've not seen any evidence that that's actually going to be the case. Your thoughts on that? Should they come down the road?
Let's wait to see what happens. And of course, they've politicized so much this whole process. I mean, it's unbelievable to me. Also, some of these individuals, like the CDC director, I mean, having no backbone. I mean, he basically testifies to Congress saying it's going to take up to Q1 of next year to distribute the vaccines on scientific evidence. Then Trump contradicts him, and he says, I was wrong. I mean, just total lack of any independence.
Yeah, it's pretty shocking. And then the political people, writing the CDC guidelines, that's just mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling. We'll be back with more of your calls for Congressman Khanna in just a moment. It's coming up on 10 minutes before the hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Fair and only slightly unbalanced. We'll be right back. On the Science Revolution this week, Dr. Michael Mann is here on climate change and the West on fire. Plus, there's a new study showing planet Earth may temporarily pass a dangerous 1.5 degrees Celsius warming limit by the middle of the next decade. This is a huge warning to us all. Former EPA official Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali drops by to warn us about creating an apocalyptic, devastated planet. Attorney for Earth Justice Bradley Marshall is here informing us about bomb trains. Earth Justice has just filed a legal challenge to stop them. And in Geeky Science, I'm looking at why the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine study was put on hold. Tune into the Science Revolution wherever fine podcasts are available. Welcome back. We're doing a national town hall meeting here with Representative Ro Khanna of California, the vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, representing the 17th District of California in the U.S. House. David in Spotswood, New Jersey, you are on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hi, Congressman Khanna. I have a quick question. That the Republicans obviously want to eliminate the Social Security tax and have it come out of the general fund. I'm bemused. I don't know why the Democrats, and this goes back to Hyman Minsky in the early 60s and monetarists like Stephanie Kelton and Randall Wray. Why can't we just have the Democrats propose an increase in Social Security, and to counter the Republicans have an increase in Social Security benefits.
We can, and we do. I mean, that is Senator Sanders, Senator Warren's proposal, that we need an increase in Social Security benefits, that we can afford it, this is a red herring about its insolvency, and really what we need to do is expand Social Security benefits. And that has, even in the House, the Larson Act, it doesn't go as far as Sanders or Warren, but it passed the House, and it would expand Social Security benefits. So that is definitely the direction Democrats will go in.
Al in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Good morning. My question is, in 2017, the Mexican Senate voted to boycott American corn. Mexico bought 50% of the American corn crop. The price of corn since then, I've been tracking it on a weekly basis, is about between $3 and $3.50 a bushel. You can't buy tires for your tractors with that. My question, I've been attempting to verify that this boycott continues. I think it's a danger. I mean, there's been an increase in farm bankruptcies, and this bothers me greatly. Can you verify that? And why don't the Democrats use that to convince farmers that Trump is not in their interest? Thank you.
Al, you raise a great point, and the trade wars have really hurt farmers. I mean, they haven't been able to sell their goods. They haven't been able to sell their crops. And the trade war with China has devastated many of the farming communities. Trump has tried to buy them off with subsidies, but really what they need is markets, and they need Americans pushing for more exports of products. And I think we have to make that point to try to win them back over.
VK in Fort Worth, Texas. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Hi, Congressman Khanna. My question is, do you think the Democrats can expand the House majority this election so we can do things like enshrine Roe v. Wade or get rid of Hyde?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I do think we're going to get gains in the House. I think we have a very good chance of winning back the Senate. It could be a year like 2008, where we had a huge House majority, where we had we won the Senate and we had a big win in the presidency. And then it'll be for us to deliver if we have both chambers and the White House.
Jan in Arcata, California. You're on the air with Congressman Khanna.
Thank you, Congressman, for taking my call. Why hasn't the Democratic Party called out Trump for not filling the position in the FEC? If he's complaining that
Federal Election Commission
rigged, yes. If he's complaining that everything's rigged, well, why don't you just point out, well, if you appoint someone, maybe it wouldn't be.
Jan, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's been appalling. He has basically hamstrung the FEC. He hasn't filled any of the vacancies. I think partly it's because he doesn't want an investigation into his own campaign. And from 2016, he wants the 5-year statute of limitations to run, and he doesn't want people looking into the financing of his current campaign. So he's perfectly happy not to have an enforcement watchdog.
Back to a
Fred in Bremerton, Washington. Go ahead, Fred.
Hey.
Fred, you're on the air.
Yes, sir.
With Congressman Khanna.
Thank you, Congressman. Real quick question. I want to know, since this comb over in the White House has put our country in bad light with other countries, if we're going to have to go back to a draft of some sort in order to reinforce our service members to protect this country from the people who think that we are weak now because of what Mr. Comb over has been doing.
Fred, no, I don't think so. I mean, the president has frayed a lot of our alliances. He has set us back on issues of non-proliferation and climate change. But I think that the new president can help restore that. And the last thing we need is to get into more wars overseas. So I certainly don't think we need a draft or need to be extending the reach of our military.
We have a little less than a minute to the end of the hour. Brian in Rescue, California. Very quick one for Congressman Khanna, please.
Yes, Tom, thank you much. My concern, Congressman Khanna, is the campaign rhetoric is being answered daily by the Democratic campaign. And my hope is and concern is they will start telling the American people what they're going to do for them and leave that other stuff alone. Thank you very much, Congressman.
Ron, I agree with you. I think we have to make the case how we're going to improve people's lives. How are we going to increase their wages, give them the pay raise they deserve? How are we going to give them health care so they don't have these extraordinary premiums and out-of-pocket costs? How are we going to make sure that their kids aren't incurring extraordinary debt to go to college or to get some form of vocational education? How are we going to make sure that they have bargaining rights? This has to be our platform.
Yeah, and absolutely. Congressman Khanna, thanks so much for dropping by today. It's always great having you with us.
Always enjoy it. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, sir. We will be back. It's Anything Goes Friday now, so that's it for our guest today. We'll be talking you and me. What's on your mind? Stick around.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
These companies support the Thom Hartmann Program. They are CarShield, America's #1 auto protection company. More information at carshield.com, code TOM. CB Distillery, CBD for sleeping. More info at cbdistillery.com, code TOM. The Clean Phone Pro, phone sanitizer and charger. More info at thenewdealshop.com. Plexiderm Wrinkle Reducer, real science, real results. More info at plexiderm.com, code TOM. ExpressVPN, the VPN that just works. More information at expressvpn.com/Tom. And TEEF, TEEF, Smarter Pet Dental Health. For more information, teef.com, code TOM.
We say fight back!
It's Friday, and it's time to support Free Speech TV. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. We need you to call Free Speech TV right now. Toss in $10, $50, whatever you can afford, and help keep this network going. And nonprofits like Free Speech TV operate pretty much entirely based on your gifts. Without your help, Free Speech TV doesn't exist. And we really need this network. America needs this network. We're in some very, very dark times right now, some very difficult times. Democracy itself is wobbling. Right? The idea of democracy itself is under attack in this country. And it's under attack not just from, cranky or crazy Americans, and there are a few of them. It's under attack from foreign oligarchs and foreign criminal syndicates who have thrown in with Donald Trump as well. I mean, this is how bad it is. And Free Speech TV is telling the truth every day. And there's a whole bunch of great programs on this network telling you the truth. I hope you think that ours is one of them. And if so, would you please call now? Your vote during our show, essentially, your call during our show is essentially your vote for the Thom Hartmann Program here on Free Speech TV. 877-378-8669. Let them know you're watching. Let them know you care. Let them know you like the program. Hopefully. If you don't like the program, you don't need to call. No, I'm just kidding. You understand what I'm saying. This is a difficult time, and Free Speech TV needs your help. They really do. And your help also helps keep this program on Free Speech TV when you call during our show at 877-378-8669. 8669. 877-378-8669. This is, I've been on Free Speech TV for more or less a decade, I think, maybe even a little longer. And I remember times that I thought were like absolutely critical, absolutely pivotal. I've never seen anything like this. And I'm sure you haven't either. Our country, the idea of our country, the ideas that animated our country, the ideas of the Enlightenment, these 300-year-old ideas that people can govern themselves and that a republic can be created where its own citizens make decisions about how that government will behave toward its citizens and toward the rest of the world. All of that is under attack right now. And part of fighting back, essentially, is providing people with good information, telling them what's really going on in the world. And we try to do that here on this program every single weekday. And I know, so many folks watch this show and share the information with others, and things that I talk about show up on Twitter and Facebook and whatnot. And that's all great. And we'd like to continue that. And we'd like to grow that here on Free Speech TV. Free Speech TV is an essential vehicle for information. We really need this network. You really need this network. I believe, I hope that you're watching it because it's a value to you. And if you are getting value from this network, please consider sharing a little bit of what you have with Free Speech TV. It doesn't need to be a lot. The other point that I would make is that monthly donations, the regular commitments, are among the most important, even when they're very small, even when they're $5 a month. A monthly commitment is a huge deal to Free Speech TV. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and let them know that you're watching and let them know that you want to help out. There are a bunch of premiums when you call, some goodies that you can get. With a $20 gift, you get your choice of either the Thom Hartmann University, proud student of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker, or the sticker that says Fight for Democracy, or the set of 3 stainless steel straws. That's with a $20 gift, your choice of one of those 3 things. With a $50 gift, you have your choice of a Free Speech TV webcam cover, the tote bag, Change Never Happens from the Top Down, or the postcard pack, Fight for Democracy. It's with $50. With a $75 gift, you get the official Thom Hartmann Program mug, or you can get the Free Speech TV hat. With a $100 gift, the face mask, What We Can Grow from a Crisis, 2 of them actually. With a $120 gift, you get your choice of a t-shirt, Ask Me About Free Speech TV, or one of 3 books, you pick one, The Hidden History of the War on Voting, How Trump Stole 2020 by Greg Palast, or The Hidden History of Monopoly, the hidden history books I wrote. With a $240 gift, we have a meet and greet, a virtual meet and greet on Zoom on October 14th and another on November 18th. So the $240 gift. With a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University Fall Box with the bumper sticker, the Democracy sticker, the Free Speech TV tote bag, the Democracy postcards, and my book on Monopoly. If you really support our program, here's where you go, the $360 gift. And with a $1,000 gift, get in line to come out and visit us here in Portland, probably next spring. But the bottom line is, we need you to call now, 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to Free Speech TV. Without you, if we don't hit this goal, we're in trouble. Without you, we don't have this network. And so we need your help. This is a serious time, and it's an important time to please call now. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. Tell them that you're watching the Thom Hartmann Program. Be sure to say hi, and thank you so much for supporting this network. That's Richard Belzer's new book, Corporate Conspiracies.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. So the newspaper, this specifically, I'm trying to see which newspaper. This is the Philadelphia Inquirer. First of all, this is USA Today. They're speaking to the president. They said he should resign because he has resolutely failed and continues to fail the most fundamental test of any president, to put his nation's interests first. So that's USA Today calling for the president to resign. This is the Philadelphia Inquirer. The president should resign. He should resign because his repeated reckless deceits have dishonored his presidency beyond repair. Other newspapers who have said the same thing, essentially, not necessarily the literal same words, but have explicitly called for the president to resign. Other newspapers include the Denver Post, the Washington Times, the Orlando Sentinel, the San Antonio Express News, the Anchorage Daily News, the Manchester Union Leader. These are just some of the dailies, right? I mean, all over the country, newspapers have called on the president to resign. I'm speaking, of course, of President Clinton. Seriously. All those newspapers called on President Clinton to resign in editorials that they ran in their newspapers, in some cases, front page editorials. How many newspapers have called on Donald Trump to resign? Zero. Last night, Joe Biden said there has never been a time they have not been able. He says you've got to level with the American people, shoot from the shoulder. He's talking about how badly Donald Trump either screwed up or intentionally let, or even with genocidal intent. God only knows how we got to this point. There are some indicators that Trump and Kushner were sitting around going, particularly after the April 7th revelations, oh, it kills black people, brown people, old people. That's not us. See you later, buddy. So in response to that, Joe Biden last night on his town hall meeting on CNN, he pointed to how Robert Redfield is being kicked around by Trump and all this vaccine stuff. And he says very, very straightforward. He said, you've got to level with the American people. You've got to shoot from the shoulder. There's never been a time when they have not been able to step up. He's talking about the American people. If simply they're offered leadership and asked to pitch in. There's never been a time they have not been able to step up. This president should step down. Donald Trump has been impeached. All those newspapers that I just read to you, that list of newspapers, those were all published after Bill Clinton was impeached. Donald Trump was impeached. And yet, where are the newspapers calling for his resignation? If you are planning on writing a letter to the editor of your local paper, and generally speaking, it's quite easy, and if you don't subscribe to a local newspaper, you probably should. We need to support our local newspapers. I renewed, in fact, I think we now have 2 subscriptions to the Oregonian. I bought a digital subscription, but we already had a print subscription, which I think gave me access to the digital part. But what the heck, even though it's owned by a conservative New York corporation, it's my local paper. So, and when you do that, I don't know if being a subscriber helps out or not. It's certainly, in some cases, you've got paywalls and things like that. But if you're going to write a letter to the editor of your local paper, and they're looking for them all the time, they're looking for content, this might be a good topic. To the editorial board. If you even thought about asking Bill Clinton to resign, and you can, step into the Google machine and go back and see if, in it was 98, 99, whatever the year was of that impeachment, you should be able to see if your local paper did call for him to resign. Say, what's taking you so long? Another story here that I want to share with you, and then I'll pick up your phone calls. Of course, we know now that when the CDC came out a week or so ago and said, if you have been around somebody with COVID, but you don't feel sick, you don't need to get tested. And all over the country, scientists were going, what the hell? What fool said that? Well, it turns out, apparently the fool who said that was Dr. Atlas in the White House, perhaps with the help of Mike Pence and Jared Kushner. Because it certainly wasn't the scientists at the Centers for Disease Control. They were not even informed. It was put on the website. When they objected, they were told, tough luck. Just the same message that Trump gives to people on Social Security when he says, if I get reelected, Social Security is dead in 3 years. And people go, what about us? And he goes, to hell with you. This is the official Republican position, right? Unemployed people. Hey, we need some help here. Mitch McConnell, screw you guys. I mean, pick your Republican senator. Every single one of them except Mitt Romney. Well, even Mitt Romney, in some regards, depending on the legislation, is basically saying to the American people, go jump off a cliff. Because the Republicans know that they don't need us. All they need is another large check from the Koch network, or another large check from the Bradley Foundation, the Scaife Foundation, or another large check from Shelley Adelson, or a little extra help on Facebook coming out of Saudi Arabia or Russia or Israel. I mean, that's all they need. They know that. They don't care about you and me. They're sitting around laughing at us. Yeah, we're going to own the libs. Right. Those people on Social Security, they're such a voting bloc. We're going to make it tough on them. And those black people, we'll just pull their voter registrations. Have you double-checked your voter registration? It's real easy. The DNC put up a website called iwillvote.org, I believe it is. Might be .com. Check it out. You should be able to find it. It should be both, right? Typically, when you get a domain, you get both, and you cross both. You point them at each other. But it's called I Will Vote. And with a single button, you can check your voter registration. And I am hearing, and I've seen several people on Twitter have tweeted to me about this, that literally just in the last couple of weeks, their voter status has gone from active to inactive. In other words, Republican secretaries of state, or in some cases, apparently the Republican Party, they're doing caging. Now that the Supreme Court has said they can do this, they're mailing out postcards. If you don't send that postcard back, if you think it's spam mail, if they don't get it back, then they go to the Secretary of State and say, hey, this postcard never got returned. These people aren't here. Take them off the voting rolls. So double check your voter status. And the last story I want to share with you, and then we're going to hit this break and I'll pick up your phone calls for the whole rest of the hour. There's a bunch of stuff going on out here that I think is really, really important to talk about. Number one, yesterday I was talking about how Republican sites are actually talking about encouraging Republicans to go into polling places without masks and cough a lot. Well, this comes out of St. Louis. St. Charles County Election Authority sent an email to poll workers yesterday, quote, saying you don't have to wear a mask. Quote, you may act surprised that you don't have a face mask on properly and then apologize as you put the mask on. Wear your mask correctly until the voter leaves the polling place. Please do this every time a voter says something to you. In other words, if you walk into a polling place in Missouri and the people aren't wearing masks and you ask them to wear a mask, then they will do that for a short while. Isn't that sweet? And finally, Dana Rohrabacher, apparently a Republican member of Congress at the time, apparently reached out to Julian Assange and said, if you can help cover up the Trump campaign's collusion with Russia on Hillary's emails, then we will help you out, Mr. Assange. Are you getting this? What's going on here? I thought that was called treason. We'll be back.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
It's Anything Goes Friday. Back with your calls in just a moment. And welcome back. James in Portland. Hey, James, what's on your mind?
Hey, Tom. So we all remember Al Gore and Bush in Florida, right? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So I just checked on the internet. There's no time limit to register to vote in Florida. You just go there, set up a residence, and vote. Now,
well, going there and setting up a residence. Are you suggesting that like people who have been burned out of their houses in Oregon should go to Florida?
Anybody, anywhere that they want their vote to count, go to Florida. There's no time limit. Vote. And the polls in Florida are like 50-50. If Trump loses Florida, he's toast. If you want your vote to count,
but you have to own a home in or have a residence in Florida. You have to actually be a resident of the state to register to vote, James. We don't want to be encouraging people to do something that is illegal. But I get your point, James. Thank you for the call, Robin in Kingston, Washington. Hey, Robin, what's up?
Hey, Tom. I think I've stumbled on an important coalition that we can kind of pull away from the Lincoln Trojan Horse Project. The question that I'm curious about this upcoming election is whether or not we can get voters to vote with thoughtful decision a bit more instead of so emotionally as they often do. And the coalition I'm talking about is the women's vote. And I have 4 simple points to just try to make my point. The 26th woman just came out about Trump sexually molesting her, Amy Doris. Right. That goes along with the Hollywood access. But women's issues, immigrant children, Trump taking them from parents, mostly mothers. Now we're finding ICE has forced hysterectomies. And the thing that sticks in my craw is the Equal Rights Amendment has not even been ratified. So my broader question, I'm wondering whether we can get some of the voters, female women voters, who are kind of in the middle. I'm not talking about Trumpsters. I wonder if we can get them to just vote, not so much emotionally, but factually and kind of with principle. And my big question is, what is the character of a president do you want? And let the answer to that drive your decision. And obviously, it would be towards the Democrats and Joe Biden. And to finish up, just to let you know, my T-shirt messaging of the week is, it's the century of the woman, vote, and it's going over very well. So anyways, I'm just trying to see if that coalition can work. What do you think about that?
I think that 2 guys sitting around talking about the women's vote is tone deaf, and that just if we tried to talk about the male vote or the black vote or the Hispanic vote, there is no monolith called the women's vote.
Right. My apologies for mansplaining. My apologies to my sisters for mansplaining. But I'm going to talk about it because I don't waste any time trying to get the men out to vote because we haven't had them. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Robin, and I do think that women's issues, and particularly the Equal Rights Amendment, should be high priority things, and these are things that we should all be supporting. And one of the things that I find most encouraging, I mean, Trump won the white female vote last time around. It looks like he's not going to win it this time around. So we'll see. 20 minutes past the hour. You can help America return to democracy by telling friends and family how to listen to this and other great progressive programs. Tag you're it. So we've got a new video over at thomhartmann.com laying out, for people who are supporters of our program, basically laying out how Ronald Reagan set us up for fascism. And I'll give you the Cliff Notes version here. I'll go into a little more detail on the video over on our website. But basically, when you look at country after country, whether it was the countries that were destroyed in World War I, and thus poverty was rampant in Italy, Spain, and Germany, or whether it was whatever it may be, when the standard of living of the middle class begins to collapse and the middle class stops being more than 50% of the population, that's when the majority of people in the country are receptive to a fascist message. The fascist message essentially is, I'll tell you who did this to you. It wasn't us. It was those brown people. It was those black people. It was those Jews. It was those fill in the blanks, right? This is their story. Check it out. It's over at thomhartmann.com. Back. Sean, just FYI, so I don't forget, I keep meaning to say this every day, that whatever that promo was that just played on the nonprofit side in my ear was so loud it was badly distorting. Need to check it out. Anyhow, welcome back. It's Anything Goes Friday. Picking up your calls. Chuck in Scottsdale, Arizona. Hey, Chuck, what's up?
Yeah, good morning. I had a question. What if private insurance was to just cover all the routine health problems, like the appendicitis, gallbladders, et cetera? Wouldn't it keep premiums lower, and because they'd have lower expenditures and all that? However, if you have a catastrophic case, that would have to go to a national pool, like Medicare or whatever, to avoid, people getting bankrupt and everything. Would that work? And I've talked to some hardcore Republicans that thought that was a pretty good idea. What do you think?
Well, that's basically what Trump's plan is that, catastrophic care insurance be what everybody has. And, it doesn't kick in until, you hit 5, 10, 15, maybe $50 or $100,000 in expenses, depending on who, which day of the week he's talking about it and which Republican plan you're pointing to. But the problem, Chuck, is before the coronavirus and before, 30, 40 million Americans lost their jobs, we had a situation in the United States where fewer than 40% of Americans could have dealt with a $400 expense. Fewer than a third of Americans could have dealt with a $1,000 expense. So, without significant financial dislocation or even the risk of a loss of housing. So, going for catastrophic insurance in order to try to keep insurance prices down is going to doom well over half the population, and that's the reason why Democrats are opposed to that. Norma in Montgomery, Alabama. Hey, Norma, what's up?
Hi, Tom. I just wanted to do a little rant here about why everybody needs to get together and stop pouting, stop sulking, stop being stubborn, and go ahead and vote for Biden. Because if we have Trump reelected, we could lose everything. We will lose Social Security. How many people out there can feed and provide a home for their elders, pay for their medications, their doctor bills? How many people are going to try to sell mom's home in a collapsed economy and not get anything for it, not even enough to build a room on your own house if you own a house? We have a country that is being sold out from under us, and people cannot outbid foreign investors, whether it's an individual or corporation or a country, buying our land out from under us. And so you're going to wind up trying to figure out a way to feed your elders because there's no Social Security, pay for their prescriptions because there's no Medicare. The nursing homes will have to close because there's no Medicaid. There won't be dialysis for people who need it. There won't even be an electric wheelchair for a child that outgrows the one he has. A lot of people cannot afford these wheelchairs. They can't, and now you can't even get a ramp on your van because that's no longer covered. If people don't shut up and stop talking about, I can't vote for Biden because he did this. Well, we can handle Biden one way or another. We can handle Biden and we can handle Harris, but we cannot handle Trump because there isn't anything in our Congress that will do anything. This business of stopping the payments for the corporations to Social Security, how many of them are even American businesses? They are international corporations. So anybody can come to the United States and treat an American citizen like dirt and have no responsibility to the American people or the United States of America. There's no paid sick leave, there's no paid vacation, there's no retirement plan, and now they don't even want to have to pay Social Security to American citizens. They have no obligation. And without OSHA, without workman's comp, they're going to be working in filthy, dirty, dangerous situations because that's all you can get. And if they enact right to work and you have to work for $3 an hour, how happy are you going to be? This is what the corporations are trying to force our Congress to do. And until we have our Congress in our control, we're up a creek. And that means everybody has to go vote and vote the down ballot. And you better start thinking about the midterms. Yeah, 2022? That's so far away, people. Really? Here in Alabama, we have 13 months to find somebody to get on the ballots. And if the census comes in and we have only 60% of the people here in Alabama have filled it out, we're going to lose a representative to Congress. We're going to wind up with maybe 5. We could lose 2 because people won't bother to fill out the census. And, if you don't have any representation, you have no voice. And they want a new constitution. Will they eliminate the First Amendment altogether? Will they eliminate your right to vote? Will they eliminate your right to own property? What kind of a country do people want to live in? Go ask your Trump support friends if they can support their parents. Can they pay for their prescriptions? Vote for Biden, people, and shut up.
Yeah. Okay. Well said, Norma. Well said. Great rant. Thank you very much. I love it. When my listeners can do rants as good as I can, or in many cases better, it is so cool to sit in this chair. Thanks so much, Norma. We'll be back with more of your calls and the news of the day right after this.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Stick around. We'll be right back. It's Anything Goes Friday here on the True People's Media, the Thom Hartmann Program. It's Friday, and it's time to support Free Speech TV. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. We need you to call Free Speech TV right now. Toss in $10, $50, whatever you can afford, and help keep this network going. And nonprofits like Free Speech TV operate pretty much entirely based on your gifts. Without your help, Free Speech TV doesn't exist. And we really need this network. America needs this network. We're in some very, very dark times right now, some very difficult times. Democracy itself is wobbling. Right? The idea of democracy itself is under attack in this country. And it's under attack not just from, cranky or crazy Americans, and there are a few of them. It's under attack from foreign oligarchs and foreign criminal syndicates who have thrown in with Donald Trump as well. I mean, this is how bad it is. And Free Speech TV is telling the truth every day. And there's a whole bunch of great programs on this network telling you the truth. I hope you think that ours is one of them. And if so, would you please call now? Your vote during our show, essentially, your call during our show is essentially your vote for the Thom Hartmann Program here on Free Speech TV. 877-378-8669. Let them know you're watching. Let them know you care. Let them know you like the program. Hopefully. If you don't like the program, you don't need to call. No, I'm just kidding. You understand what I'm saying. This is a difficult time, and Free Speech TV needs your help. They really do. And your help also helps keep this program on Free Speech TV when you call during our show at 877-378-8669. 877-378-8669. This is, I've been on Free Speech TV for more or less a decade, I think, maybe even a little longer. And I remember times that I thought were like absolutely critical, absolutely pivotal. I've never seen anything like this. And I'm sure you haven't either. Our country, the idea of our country, the ideas that animated our country, the ideas of the Enlightenment, these 300-year-old ideas that people can govern themselves and that a republic can be created where its own citizens make decisions about how that government will behave toward its citizens and toward the rest of the world. All of that is under attack right now. And part of fighting back, essentially, is providing people with good information, telling them what's really going on in the world. And we try to do that here on this program every single weekday. And I know, so many folks watch this show and share the information with others, and things that I talk about show up on Twitter and Facebook and whatnot. And that's all great. And we'd like to continue that. And we'd like to grow that here on Free Speech TV. Free Speech TV is an essential vehicle for information. We really need this network. You really need this network. I believe, I hope that you're watching it because it's a value to you. And if you are getting value from this network, please consider sharing a little bit of what you have with Free Speech TV. It doesn't need to be a lot. The other point that I would make is that monthly donations, the regular commitments, are among the most important, even when they're very small, even when they're $5 a month. A monthly commitment is a huge deal to Free Speech TV. So please call now, 877-378-8669, and let them know that you're watching and let them know that you want to help out. There are a bunch of premiums when you call, some goodies that you can get. With a $20 gift, you get your choice of either the Thom Hartmann University, proud student of the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker, or the sticker that says Fight for Democracy, or the set of 3 stainless steel straws. That's with a $20 gift, your choice of one of those 3 things. With a $50 gift, you have your choice of a Free Speech TV webcam cover, the tote bag, Change Never Happens from the Top Down, or the postcard pack, Fight for Democracy. It's with $50. With a $75 gift, you get the official Thom Hartmann Program mug, or you can get the Free Speech TV hat. With a $100 gift, the face mask, What We Can Grow from a Crisis, 2 of them actually. With a $120 gift, you get your choice of a t-shirt, Ask Me About Free Speech TV, or one of 3 books, you pick one, The Hidden History of the War on Voting, How Trump Stole 2020 by Greg Palast, or The Hidden History of Monopoly, the hidden history books I wrote. With a $240 gift, we have a meet and greet, a virtual meet and greet on Zoom on October 14th and another on November 18th. So the $240 gift. With a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University Fall Box with the bumper sticker, the Democracy sticker, the Free Speech TV tote bag, the Democracy postcards, and my book on Monopoly. If you really support our program, here's where you go, the $360 gift. And with a $1,000 gift, get in line to come out and visit us here in Portland, probably next spring. But the bottom line is, we need you to call now, 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to Free Speech TV. Without you, if we don't hit this goal, we're in trouble. Without you, we don't have this network. And so we need your help. This is a serious time, and it's an important time to please call now. 877-378-8669 is the telephone number. Tell them that you're watching the Thom Hartmann Program. Be sure to say hi, and thank you so much for supporting this network. On the Science Revolution this week, Dr. Michael Mann is here on climate change and the West on fire. Plus, there's a new study showing planet Earth may temporarily pass a dangerous 1.5 degrees Celsius warming limit by the middle of the next decade. This is a huge warning to us all. Former EPA official Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali drops by to warn us about creating an apocalyptic, devastated planet. Attorney for Earth Justice Bradley Marshall is here informing us about bomb trains. Earth Justice has just filed a legal challenge to stop them. And in Geeky Science, I'm looking at why the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine study was put on hold. Tune into the Science Revolution wherever fine podcasts are available. Welcome back. Anything Goes Friday here on the Thom Hartmann Program. And Joe in Villa Park, Illinois. Hey, Joe, what's on your mind today?
Oh, Tom, I know you just referenced bomb trains in the last break. And as a retired railroad conductor, I wanted to make the point that those trains only started becoming more prevalent when fracking started up. I really am not, I really do want to get down to a carbon-free society. But the trains took the place of building pipelines, and the pipelines, once they're built, we're talking about railroad professionals are federally licensed and most of the time union jobs where they've had accidents in the past. It's usually because of poor upkeep of track or a non-union carrier to try to get by with just one guy on the train.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's blaming the guys who work on the railroads, and nobody's in favor of more unemployment. Wouldn't it be great if instead of carrying around loads of explosive materials, oil and whatnot, that those same trains were instead carrying, fresh steel to build new bridges all over the country? A Green New Deal, Joe.
Oh, absolutely, I agree. And then the other question I had was one of the Democrats going to start holding Bill Barr accountable. These guys have their foot on the gas, and he's going to be advising Trump just like he did with H.W. Bush, even if Trump's defeated.
Oh, I agree, and there'll be massive numbers of pardons right after the election, just like with George H.W. Bush, Christmas Eve, 1992. And that was Bill Barr who did that. He shut down the entire Iran-Contra investigation into Reagan's treason against America, simply by pardoning Ollie North and all the Caspar Weinberger and a bunch of other guys. I'm with you, Joe. I'm with you. And the Democrats, they've announced in Congress that they are investigating Barr, but he's just not going to cooperate. Chad Wolf refused to show up day before yesterday. The acting director of the Department of Homeland Security, DHS. And, Congress is like, well, what do we do now? It's really unfortunate. I think that they need to use inherent contempt, but I don't think it's going to happen. They do need, though, to be taking names and kicking ass. George in Garden City, Kansas. Hey, George, what's on your mind?
Yeah, Tom, I just wanted to get your take. I saw something on CNN, MSNBC, where there was a diplomatic pact signed between the United Arab Emirates and Israel and one other country. But the part that was kind of scary to me was that part of that pact was that we sold stealth F-15 fighters to the United Arab Emirates and that other country as part of that peace pact or democracy pact or whatever they called it. And I just wanted to get your take on that. That just doesn't seem like that's to sell arms and to be arms dealers to make a democratic pact or democracy pact. That doesn't seem to make sense.
Yeah, what's happening here, and there's been a couple of good op-eds written about this. I read one a couple of days ago in the Washington Post. What is happening here is that three essentially right-wing governments in the Middle East are working with Donald Trump to try to get Donald Trump reelected. These countries have not been at war in any real or meaningful way anyway. They're taking largely symbolic actions. They're doing it mostly to prop up Donald Trump, and I think in the case of the UAE, and it's the same thing with Saudi Arabia. Trump sold the Saudis, I believe it was $8 billion worth of weapons over the objections of Congress. There was a specific law passed that you can't do this, and he did it anyway. I think it's just absolutely wrong. This is a Hail Mary where Donald Trump has got a few foreign autocrats, the people who bailed out Jared Kushner, the people who came up with the money for literally $1 billion for Jared Kushner to not lose his building on 666 Fifth Avenue. I think it's wrong, and I think it's cynical, and I'm saddened by it, George. Steve in Genevieve, Missouri. Hey, Steve, what's on your mind?
Hey, Tom. You were talking earlier about the farmers, getting screwed. I live in Missouri, and I literally watched crops being plowed under because of what our president did. But just the other day, the Missouri Farm Bureau is popping up billboards all over the interstates endorsing Donald Trump. I don't get it.
The Farm Bureau, in all probability, is largely funded by a small handful of very large ag monopolies. And those very large ag monopolies are very happy with Donald Trump. He's protecting their power. He's protecting their monopoly status. He's protecting their subsidies. He's kicking back. The literally billions of dollars that Donald Trump has both gotten through Congress and also acquired by executive order that is supposed to be passed out to farmers around the country. Most of that is going to about a dozen major corporations. It's not going to the small farmer on the ground. And so, I so completely got this when Louise and I were living in Vermont. This was back in 1996. And the only way that I could get health insurance, since it was just the two of us, and we didn't qualify for a group plan, and I didn't have an employer. I'd sold a business in Atlanta, and we'd moved to Vermont. And we had a small business. It was my writing business, writing books. So we had a little corporation. And it was to join the Chamber of Commerce in the state of Vermont because they offered insurance plans, and which was the one good thing that they did. But I really got it that they were dancing to the tune, to a large extent, of the National Chamber, and the National Chamber dances to the tune of the Business Roundtable, the 200 largest corporations in America, period, full stop. So I don't have personal knowledge of how it works in farming, but I would be astonished if it was any different, Steve.
I have a... Yeah, it really does. Now, the really big question is, what if he does win and he puts all of his crones up there, more crones than what he has? When do the American people, when do the American people, I don't know, say, hey, we're not going to take this anymore because it looks like violence. This man wants to create violence in our country. And if he is to remain in power just because he's president and he knows that he can get away with everything, I guarantee you he's going to spread that violence all over. And not just in the United States.
Absolutely. Google my name and Viktor Orban, the dictator now of Hungary. Hungary was a democratic republic and when Orban was elected. And, 8 months to the day before the Charlottesville rally with the very fine people, the Nazis saying Jews will not replace us. 8 months to the day before that, there was a similar rally in Budapest, in Hungary, where Orban's thugs marched up to a gypsy community, what they call the Roma now, and with torches and said, "We will burn your houses. We will burn you out." And they didn't do it, but they threatened them and scared the hell out of them. These are the weapons these are the tools that autocratic wannabe dictators use. Orban now is a full dictator, and Donald Trump wants to be. And America needs to wake the hell up. Ronnie in New Berlin, Wisconsin. Hey, Ronnie, what's up?
Hi there. I just want to talk about last night's Trump rally in Wisconsin. So you know how he was asked, aren't you afraid of spreading it or getting it? And he said, no, I'm far away from the people. I noticed from
let me add to that, Ronnie, if I could real quickly. If you look at the pictures of that rally and the two that preceded it, in every case, he had some flags behind him, and the flags were like moving a lot. And I'm convinced that they set up an outdoor airflow directly above him that just came down and surrounded him with a column of fresh air, that was the way that fresh air was introduced into the room, so that he always got the fresh air first, so that there was no possibility that he could get the virus. It's the only thing I can figure out, and the movement of the flags makes perfect sense with that. Back to you.
And you're getting right where I'm going, except in a different direction. I noticed the footage last night. All of his flags were going straight back because he was facing the wind. So his entire crowd of unmasked masses who adore him, all of their breath was going right towards him. So is it wrong if I hope that maybe he catches a slight, case of, the Rona?
I think it's always wrong to wish another, pain or illness on another person. I think it corrodes our souls. But look again at that video. Yes, it would be ironic. Look again at that video, though, Ronnie, and the movement of those flags. And this time, instead of imagining that air is being blown across the crowd at Trump, imagine that there is about a 4-foot diameter giant tube about 10 feet above his head that's ducting fresh outdoor air right straight in and pouring it right straight down on his head, and it's spreading out around him. I've got to look at it again. I guess his hair might be a little giveaway, although his hair is probably so lacquered with hairspray that it's hard to tell. But
this was an outdoor event.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he goes out of his way to say, I don't care, I'm far away from the crowd, I'm protected.
Right.
I would be astonished if they let anybody get close enough to breathe on him, but God only knows. He's definitely tempting fate. Ronnie, thank you for the call. It's 45 minutes past the hour. We'll be back with more of your calls on Anything Goes Friday right after this.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Back with more of the news of the day and your calls in just a moment. It's your media support group for We the People of the United States, the Thom Hartmann Program. And welcome back. Let's see here. John in Hillsboro, Oregon. Hey, John, what's on your mind?
Your opening interview with Dr. Parsi, And he was talking about the UN resolution of maybe, not really, but Pompeo wants to use something like that to sort of maybe harass Iranian shipping in the Persian Gulf.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've mentioned this before, but it's been over a year, so I know you can't remember things over a year ago, whatever. I'm not saying that, but I'm a nobody. But anyway, there's this movie that was, it's a docudrama, it's called Threads. And it was made by people in England in around 1983 or 84. And it's a docudrama of how a thermonuclear war happens. It shows you where and why. And now I'm getting the whole where I'm now. Now I'm getting, just talking. You're talking to Dr. Parsi. I have this reoccurring thing going on because this is not the first time. There's been, what should I say, harassment of shipping in the Gulf of Hormuz in Persia. So this movie, it really goes into shipping being harassed in the Gulf of Hormuz. And then it escalates with us. Back in '83, they still had the Soviet Union invading Iran to protect their interest on their borders. And so the United States sends in the Marines, and then it becomes a shooting war, and then a thermonuclear war. If you do watch it, put it on closed caption because the Cockney is very, very thick. But
sure. Where can I see it?
Well, okay, if you just go, I don't know what kind of operation modes or whatever operation system you have on your TV, but if you go to search, and then on the left-hand side, they'll have the whole alphabet, and then you key in THREADS, and it'll pop up.
Right. Okay, so but typically you have to be in an app, like in Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime.
Well, I just did the apps of search. I didn't even go to Netflix. Because it's an old movie. It was made, like I said, back in '83.
So you found it on YouTube?
But if you Google Threads, it will tell you, it will come up with a whole story of why it was made. And it's pretty, detailed. It was never put out in, in production, mass production, because when they had screenings of it to, different cities, I saw it in Vancouver, BC when it first came out. People were so appalled by it, they said, well, this is not going to make any money for us, because it's done pretty well for its time. And but it does go into the first 45 minutes. It does go in detail of how the whole situation transpired. And so when Dr. Parsi was talking, it was almost out of the whole playbook. And so
a flashback. Yeah, nobody thought, when Archduke Ferdinand was assassinated in Sarajevo, I mean, the world didn't go, oh my God, here comes World War I.
Well, yeah, that's true. Well, that's what elevates this movie, goes step by step, and of course it puts a human factor in it too. But anyway,
it sounds fascinating. John, I wrote it down. Yeah, I wrote it down. Threads.
I know. Don't have any little kids watch it, okay?
Okay. Well, we don't have any little kids around here, so we're in good shape. All right, John, thanks a lot for the call.
Thank you for
letting me call. And stay safe there in Hillsborough. Good talking to you. It's 10 minutes before the hour. We'll be right back. Share the Thom Hartmann Program with your friends. We're available on SiriusXM, Free Speech TV, Pacifica, commercial stations nationwide, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, on the Thom Hartmann app, and you can even tell your smart speaker to listen to the Thom Hartmann Program. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you 10 minutes before the hour. Larry in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Hey, Larry, thanks for listening to SiriusXM. It says here you want to disagree with me about something?
No, it's your caller. I'm in Arkansas, but I'm not in Hot Springs today. I'm trying 3 in farming communities. Nothing is being plowed under there. All the farmers I know that I've hauled for are extremely happy with what is happening. I don't know where Geneva is, but it's not happening where I live.
Okay. All right. Larry, thank you. Yeah. Danita in Bremerton, Washington. Hey, Danita, what's up?
Hi, Tom. I'm trying to go along with what you said. Don't get into despair. We've been bombarded with Republican signs here in Kitsap County, so we went to the Democrats and we got signs. But I also looked up in Washington State. I'm not sure if people know if they're ignorant or not of situations. It is illegal to tamper with or take down signs. And it's a Washington code. At minimum, it's a $1,000 fine per sign and 90 days in jail. Or if they take, that's per sign. So if they take quite a few signs, it goes up to a gross misdemeanor. And it could be $5,000 up to 364 days in jail. And so I just want to let people know, Democrats, Republicans, leave the signs alone. They're not your property. And we want to have fair elections. And so I just want, some people just may not know. And
yeah,
so,
and put them where you're. Thank you, Danita, and put your sign where you're. You know, if you have one of those doorbell cams or any kind of security camera that shows your front yard, try to catch the sign in that picture. Suzanne in Tampa. Hey, Suzanne, what's on your mind?
I'm calling about a comment made by an airline pilot last week or Monday, whatever it was, about hijacking. I want to refute what he had to say. I'm a retired flight attendant. I have flown for 3 major companies, and that's either through mergers or acquisitions. But we were never told to bring a hijacker up to the cockpit. We were instructed.
This is pre 9/11.
Yes. I was hired in 1985.
Okay. All right.
We were instructed, pick up the phone, call the cockpit, and we had a specific name that we called the pilot. It wasn't his name. It was a specific name. And that alerted them immediately that there was a hijacking going on, and they could start doing whatever they needed to get prepared. Never, in the 3 companies I worked for, and they were all major companies, never were we told, bring a hijacker up to the cockpit. That's ridiculous. Although the doors back then, before 9/11, they could easily just knock them down.
Right. Yeah, I know. And you know, tragically. Suzanne, thank you. Thank you for setting the record straight. I appreciate it. Greg in New London, Connecticut. Hey, Greg, what's up?
Yes, I just want to know, why are the Democrats giving up all their leverage? If we're on the verge of losing our democracy, if there are threats of sedition from the Attorney General, why are we giving up our leverage as it relates to the debt ceiling? Why aren't we holding that hostage until we get the post office straightened out, our stimulus package done, and get them to stop violating federal law? I don't understand why, and this is a story no one's talking about, and no one's bringing this leverage up, and why aren't we using it?
Well, because we're way over raising the debt limit, and so they're just automatically building those raises into each piece of legislation. It's because this is a time of emergency. And Greg, to do that would be to play into the Republican, you know, I mean, for 50 years now, Republicans have behaved as if, you know, the debt ceiling is some sort of sacrosanct thing and disaster is going to happen if our debt goes above a certain point. It's been a lie for 50 years. And I think Democrats are just tired of playing into that lie. Roger in Alamogordo, New Mexico. Roger, you're on the air.
Yeah, I have something that is really important. Nelson Mandela said this, and you're part of it. Our world is not divided by race, color, gender, or religion. Our world is divided into wise people, and you're one of the wise people, and fools. And fools divide themselves by race, color, gender, or religion. That's written by Nelson Mandela. I'm an independent, but I appreciate your brilliance. You are a wise person and worth listening to. I've learned a lot from you.
Well, thank you.
Even though I'm an independent.
Yeah, thank you very kindly. And to whatever extent I may be that, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. I learned these things from my father and a lot of other mentors. Roger, thank you so much. Jeff in Silver Spring, Maryland. Hey, Jeff, what's up?
Hi, Tom. Thanks for taking my call. I got a bumper sticker. Okay. Republicans worship capitalism and curse creation. It hits on all levels. It hits spiritually. It hits the Christians. It hits on a historical level as far as our Enlightenment, where our founding fathers They didn't know what the universe was, but they mentioned the creation as synonymous with that.
Oh,
and
in the Declaration of Independence,
capitalism
Jefferson refers to nature's God. John Adams tried to scratch it out and replace it with the Christian God, and Jefferson scratched out Christian God and replaced it once again with nature's God, which is where it's still there in the Declaration of Independence.
So we have to stop worshiping capitalism in order to save our creation.
Yeah, I'm with you. I am absolutely. Thanks, Jeff. Good to hear from you. Let's see. Michelle in Albuquerque, you want to say something really quick? Michelle, we got 20 seconds.
Republicans have
Oh, we don't. Michelle, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I thought I had more time than I did. I want to say thanks to all. It's Friday. I want to say thanks to everybody who works on our show. Louise, Sean Taylor, Nate Atwell, Jamie Holly, Joyce the Hammer Nance, Nigel Peacock, Sue Nethercutt, Patrick Hoyt, Geraldine Halbert, Dave Fulton, Ron Hartenbaum, Chase Spross, Nicholas Miller, Pat Sweeney, and Jabbermocky. All of them help make this program work, as do you. And thanks so much. And please, support our sponsors on our commercial stations, our nonprofit venues. Help out and spread the word. Get out there, get active, tag You're It. Have a wonderful, safe, and sacred weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
You've been listening to Thom Hartmann. For audio and video archives, visit thomhartmann.com.
These companies support the Thom Hartmann Program. They are CarShield, America's #1 auto protection company. More information at carshield.com, code TOM. CB Distillery, CBD for sleeping. More info at cbdistillery.com, code TOM. The Clean Phone Pro, phone sanitizer and charger. More info at thenewdealshop.com. Plexiderm Wrinkle Reducer, real science, real results. More info at plexiderm.com, code TOM. ExpressVPN, the VPN that just works. More information at expressvpn.com/Tom. And TEEF, TEEF, Smarter Pet Dental Health. For more information, teef.com, code TOM.